So, good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. I would like to get today's public council meeting called to order. Madam City Clerk.
Apshilasi, welcome, bienvenue. We recognize that the city of Moncton is located on the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territories of the Mi'kmaq people. Nous reconnaissons que la ville de Moncton est située sur les terres traditionnelles non cédées du peuple Mi'kmaq. The city honors the people and land of the Mi'kmaq First Nations and also honor their elders, their knowledge keepers, their ancestors, and their valuable past and present contributions to this land. Ce faisant, nous affirmons notre engagement et notre responsabilité envers l'amélioration des relations entre les nations et l'approfondissement de nos compréhensions du peuple autonome locaux et de leur culture. Walalan. Thank you. Merci. Haven't done this in a while. Staff, presenters, and members of the public have the right to address City Council in the official language of their choice. All public meetings of Moncton City Council are simultaneously translated. Translation headsets are available at the entrance of the council chambers. As part of a pilot project, the city now uses Wordly, an AI-powered simultaneous translation platform for meetings in council chambers. If you experience any issues or would like to share feedback about the interpretation services, please contact the city clerk's office. Meetings are broadcast in both official languages on the city YouTube channel, accessible via moncton.ca, and will also be aired this evening at 9 p.m. on rogerstv.com. Individuals who have registered with the city clerk's office at least 7 days prior to the meeting agenda deadline will be allocated 5 minutes to deliver their presentation. All other public presenters will be allocated 2 minutes. A 1-minute warning will be provided to indicate the time remaining. An important reminder, all presenters, city staff, and council members are expected to conduct themselves respectfully at all times. Disparaging remarks, offensive language, or profane expressions directed towards council, staff, or members of the public will not be permitted. Any breach of this code of conduct may result in the presenter being directed to leave the council chambers at the direction of the chair. Les intervenants et les membres du personnel ont le droit de s'adresser au conseil municipal dans la langue officielle de leur choix. Toutes les séances.
Relations between nations and a deeper understanding of local autonomous peoples and their culture.
Des écouteurs pour l'interprétation sont disponibles à l'entrée de la séance du conseil. Dans le cadre d'un projet pilote, la Ville utilise maintenant Wordly, une plateforme d'interprétation simultanée alimentée par l'intelligence artificielle pour les réunions tenues dans la salle du conseil. Si vous avez des difficultés avec le service d'interprétation ou souhaitez nous faire part de vos commentaires, veuillez communiquer avec le bureau de la greffière. Les séances sont diffusées en direct dans les 2 langues officielles sur la chaîne YouTube de la Ville accessible sur le site moncton.ca et seront également diffusées à 21h ce soir sur rogerstv.com. Les personnes qui se sont inscrites auprès du bureau de la greffière au moins 7 jours avant la date limite du dépôt de l'ordre du jour de la séance disposeront de 5 minutes pour faire leur présentation. Tous les autres intervenants publics disposeront de 2 minutes. Un avertissement d'1 minute sera donné pour indiquer le temps restant. Un rappel important, tous les intervenants, le personnel municipal et les membres du conseil municipal sont tenus de se comporter de manière respectueuse en tout temps. Les remarques désobligeantes, le langage offensant ou les expressions grossières à l'égard du conseil municipal, du personnel ou des membres du public ne seront pas tolérés. Tout manquant à ce code de conduite peut être entraîné l'expulsion de l'intervenant de la salle du conseil à la discrétion du président.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. We have an agenda before us this evening. I'll look for a motion to move the agenda. Are there any changes before we go forward?
We have an addition of a 2-minute presentation by Laurie Hébert concerning the city of Moncton flag raising at Beausoleil Broussard location, and also item 7.13, Moncton Cares. Kate Rival has indicated that he's not able to attend this evening and will be at a future meeting.
Okay, and I would like to add also one change at the header of today's agenda. Can we make the change to the current council? Where it says the previous council is listed on the top? Can we make that change?
We will make that change.
Okay, good, thank you. Councillor Doyle, you wish to move the adoption of the agenda? I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor LeBlanc, you wish to move for the adoption? Okay, good, thank you. Any questions on, is this an electronic vote? Yes, so this would be an electronic vote, and the vote is up now. So motion passes unanimously. Madam City Clerk.
Next is conflict of interest, les déclarations des conflits d'intérêts.
I'm not seeing any conflict of interest.
Next would be the adoption of minutes of the regular public meeting of June 15th and this swearing in of June 1st.
So council, I will need a motion to move these minutes. Councillor LeBlanc, you wish to move that. Councillor Turner, you wish to second this? Any questions on the minutes? I do have one question on the minutes from the public meeting of June the 15th, I guess, our first public meeting. In there, it's listed that I appointed members to a internal auditor committee that will be eventually, it's been changed?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So
it's been removed and added. It's all been changed on everybody's platforms.
okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Madam City Clerk? Oh, we need an electronic vote. All right, motion passes unanimously.
Next is consent agenda, les questions soumises à l'approbation du Conseil. Il y en a un ce soir, une demande d'exemption de l'arrêté concernant la prévention des bruits excessifs, spectacle de la rentrée 2026 de l'Université de Moncton.
So no presentation on this. This is a consent agenda, so I will look for a motion to move this. Moved by Councillor Guéret, seconded by Councillor Legier. Any questions on consent agenda? Councillor Turner, just give me a second here. There you go.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just curious, like 1 a.m. is a little longer than normal for most other events we have. I'm wondering if this has been done in the past, and it has. And I'm just wondering if there's was any feedback because of that hour, I guess.
That's a great question, Councillor. Isabel, I do believe you have an answer for this. I'll just wait. Push the button. Oh, there we go. There you go.
Sorry, I was just trying to access the e-scribe. So you're wondering if this was asked in previous years?
Correct.
Is that your question?
For the 1 a.m.
Yes, it was asked in previous years. This is something they come up with about 3 times every year where they have different events. This is not abnormal for us to do for the 1st of September.
And part of the question was, has there been any negative feedback from the neighborhood? I know the location within the campus is fairly contained and central. It's not on the perimeter, but obviously sound carries depending on the wind direction and direction, blah, blah, blah. So just wondering if there's been a lot of negative feedback or any negative feedback or...
There has not. My recollection is there's been one person, one individual who has called the city on a number of occasions over the past few years, but not more than, not to my knowledge.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So I will ask for a motion. Motion's been moved and seconded, so now we'll have a vote. We'll just wait for the vote to come up. Motion passes unanimously. Madam City Clerk?
Next is public presentations, les exposés du public. The first this evening is a presentation to Quinn Strang. I don't believe that Mr. Strang has come in yet, or is he here?
Not seeing him in the room. So.
Okay, we'll move on, and if he comes into the room, if your worship is acceptable in council, that we present it to him then. Okay. Next would be a presentation 2026 NORCE NCA Men's Centennial Volleyball Championship, and I see Norval McConnell and Tracy Clinch, the co-chairs, are here to discuss that.
So welcome this evening, bienvenue. One thing that I will, before I hit your light, I just want to address this with council. Normally in public presentations, you'll give your 5-minute presentation. There's somebody after you as well. We ask that council hold the questions until everybody's been heard from at the public forum. And then if we have questions for you, we'll invite you back up to the mic. Okay? So the mic is yours. And I do believe you see a 5-minute timer eventually pop up.
I'm going to get started before it goes, just in case.
Yeah, get started before it goes.
Bonjour, Monsieur le maire, Mesdames et Messieurs les membres du Conseil, merci. Merci de nous accueillir aujourd'hui. Mon nom c'est Tracy Clinch et je suis la présidente du Volleyball Nouveau-Brunswick. And
Norval McConnell, her helpful co-chair.
C'est avec grand plaisir que nous nous présentons une mise à jour sur un événement très spécial qui se déroule là dans notre ville du 11 à 19 septembre. So the NORCECA Men's World Qualifier and an Olympic qualifier will be happening at the Avenir Center from September the 11th to the 19th. So c'est un événement international. It's the top men's teams from North, Central, swipe left or right? Up. There we go. C'est un événement international. It's the top men's teams from North, Central, and the Caribbean. Et c'est le dernier événement international a eu lieu il y a plus de 20 ans dans la région.
So top-notch volleyball right here in Moncton. Avenir Center, September the 11th till the 13th is pool play. It's an 8-team tournament. There'll be 2 divisions of 4. They have their own internal competition, and then they cross the divisions. And that's when we get to the Continental Championship playoffs. And the top 3 teams from that will go to the World Championships. We have an AUS game scheduled for the day off, which will be a nice opportunity for our low players to play in the Avenir Center and as well be exposed to the volleyball. And then perhaps the highlight of the event will be the closing 2 days where we have an Olympic qualifier where the top 4 teams from the previous tournament, hopefully Canada will be one of those teams, will play in a qualifier for the Olympics, the LA Olympics. And because the United States is one of the teams that's participating, they automatically qualify, so they won't be in that event. So we're obviously hopeful that that Canada will be there. And as it mentions, we were really pleased when we put the bid in how receptive Volleyball Canada was to the setting, the Avenir Center, the opportunities that we had there, having the majority of hotels so close to the facility. We think and believe that that gave us a real leg up when we were successful with the bid.
Alors, l'importance pour Moncton, c'est une grande visibilité. Ça n'a jamais arrivé que Volleyball Canada a donné
Top
un
notch,
événement
all
comme
right
ça
here.
dans la région, et c'est vraiment important pour tout le monde de participer. We'll have athletes, trainers, officials, fans, and visitors. Hotels will be full, buses will be full. We have athletes coming in from all of the schools that will join us at the Avenir Center. So Anglophone East and Francophone East are both participating with school buses full of kids. So 1,000 from each of those, and Elsie Bucktuck will also be bringing a bus down. So tons of participation in the region.
So you can see the participating countries. And what it doesn't show you is that 6 of those 8 teams are in the top 35 in the world. So we're not talking about, this is going to be top-notch volleyball. And now the key part. So for the last little while, we've had the tickets on sale for blocks. You can buy a ticket for the entire event or either one of the 2 sessions. Next week on Monday, we launch our single-day ticket sales. 90% of our ticket revenue, the really important part of our budget line, is based on those single ticket day sales. So we really want to get the word out. You get a leg up if you're already an insider at the Avenir Center. If you're not, scan the QR code or sign up right away. So next Monday you can buy those day passes. You can help us a lot by using your social media contacts and your contacts in the community to make sure that we get that word out. I've had this question asked of me, if I only want to go watch Canada play, Canada plays every day. Okay, so the way the scheduling is done for this, when you buy a ticket, you buy it for the whole day. It isn't like a hockey game where there's 3 during the day and you empty the facility. You can come anytime during the day, watch the teams that you want to play. Scan that QR code, join that insider list, and help us sell the day passes for the event.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank
you.
you. Merci beaucoup. So if you don't mind, just stay in the room and we'll see if we have any questions at the end of public presentations.
Sorry. Our next presentation is College of Fellow inductions for the late Bill Budd, and I believe that Sarah Anderson is here to do the presentation. Are you doing it at the podium or at your seat? Okay.
Am I good to go now? Yes. All right. So, Your Worship, members of council, I appreciate the opportunity to celebrate a recent honor that was awarded to the late Bill Budd, our former Director of Planning and Development. So earlier this month, Bill was inducted as a member of the Canadian Institute of Planners College of Fellows. This designation is the highest professional honor for a planner in Canada. Bill was recognized for his many contributions to the planning profession over the course of his career, as well as the long-lasting impact he has had on communities, not just here in Moncton, but across Canada. Bill began his career in rural Manitoba, but he returned to New Brunswick in 2004. In 2013, he became the City of Moncton's first planning director, and he was responsible for establishing and building our planning department and the Planning Advisory Committee. His leadership produced the 2013 Municipal Plan Review, the neighborhood plans on which we still rely, and key affordable housing and economic development policies that continue to shape our city. Beyond Moncton, Bill was a driving force behind modernizing the province's planning legislation, and he pioneered New Brunswick's first development charge bylaw, which is widely regarded as a model for other municipalities. Those of us that were fortunate enough to be his colleagues deeply appreciate his professional expertise. But Bill brought so much more than that to the table. Sorry. It was harder than I thought. He fostered a culture of trust, accountability, and professional growth. He ensured that his team members were supported and empowered to succeed. He was generous with his time and his knowledge and his encouragement. He was a dedicated mentor who inspired countless emerging planners. He had a unique ability to recognize potential, to instill confidence in emerging planners, and to create opportunities for them to shine. Bill's legacy can still be seen across the city in the development that thrived under his hand, but it can also be seen in the generations of planners that he mentored and inspired, planners who are positively impacting communities across the country and around the world. We are thrilled that the Canadian Institute of Planners has recognized Bill's incredible impact on the profession, and that Bill's family was able to take part in the induction ceremony that was held in Montreal 2 weeks ago to accept the honor on his behalf. And we are grateful for the chance to have worked with him and to continue to build on the foundation that he laid. So on behalf of the Planning and Development Department, I would like to offer our congratulations to Bill's family on this prestigious and very much deserved honor.
Thank you, Sarah. So at this point, there are no other public presentations, so I will open the floor to, oh, sorry, there is a 2-minute. That's correct, yeah.
Sorry, there's a 2 minutes. I almost forgot you, Mr. Ibarra. I'm very sorry. Mr. Ibarra, you can come to the podium. He's here to ask City of Moncton for a flag raising at Beausoleil, Broussard location.
Welcome, bienvenue.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thanks for having me the time here. My name's Laurie Hebert. I'm a historian and I did a lot of research on the Petitcodiac River from Hillsborough to Salisbury. I've got all the research. The settlers on the river, Moncton, where their first settlers came, and the natives, where the first houses were built in Moncton. I could go on and on. That's not my agenda today. The thing is, Beausoleil, he was in the Moncton Township, and he's been recognized by Canada as a historical important person on the 15th of August, 2023. I made how Moncton came to be a thing here, if someone's interested in it. It details how the first settlers came to Moncton and who they were. The first settlers, the Germans, where their house actually was. I got maps showing where the exact location was. The natives were hunting over in Dieppe and go on and so forth. So what I'm doing as of 2024 at Beausoleil Village, which we bought the land about 7 years ago, been developing it. There's roadways there, there's flags there, there's outhouses, there's everything, picnic tables. It's quite a site. It's a historical site for the public. And on August 15th this year, I wanted to raise a Moncton flag because Beausoleil, he was in the Moncton Township. And documentations are all there to support it. And I was wondering if the Moncton would be interested in providing the first Moncton flag to be raised at the Beausoleil Historical Site. So that's what I'm here for, is to ask if the council would be interested in supplying the first flag.
Good, thank you for that. What I will do is I'll get that information that you have from you,
Yes?
and I'll make sure that our city clerk has it, and our city CAO has it, and we can have this discussion on your request, and we will get back to you.
Yep.
Yep, good, thank you. All right, council members, so that is the end of the public presentations. So at this point, I will open up the mics for questions. Deputy Mayor Richard.
Thank you, Mayor Crossman. Tracy, I find that you spoke more than Norval, so I was going to take like 3 pages of questions for Norval, but since he's sitting down now, I'll just leave him there. Thank you for your presentation. We're looking really forward to that event. Thanks to the whole group. On another side, for the late Bill Budd, thank you, Sarah. I know that was hard, and we all appreciate what you did. Anyone that Bill was touched by him. Very special man. Mr. CEO, he hasn't been here for a few days. I'd like to ask you a question, please. Would there be any way we could commemorate maybe, and you guys can look at this, maybe a boardroom or something in Bill's name? Whatever the department would be good with as well. I mean, I think it should.
So we have been exploring certain things, and when we're prepared to come back to council, we'll come back to council with some options.
Great. I think that would be very special.
Okay, merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Much. Oh, just give me a second. There.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all our presenters. I have questions for Tracy and Norval, actually. But I do want to say something, being on the Order of Moncton committee, that we have an Order of Moncton inductee in the crowd with Norval McConnell from 2018, and no surprise, he's still very involved in the community. So thank you for all your involvement, Norval. Two questions regarding the volleyball, which is very exciting for our region. You had mentioned youth, which is, I'm all about that. How exactly will they be involved? Like, you're going to bring them there, but are they going to get to interact with players? Are they going to get to play, or discounted prices for tickets, or how does that look? Oh.
Gotta wait for the red. It's the opposite of what you think.
You're right? Yeah, yeah, it is.
So the tickets for the Youth Day are all free for the kids. So it's through sponsorship that we're able to do that. So a lot of businesses in the area have come on board to help sponsor those days. So the youth will be participating free of charge. There's also a walk-in ceremony for some of our newcomer families. Oh, really? So accompanying athletes from Central, South, and North America into the gym in the evenings, particularly because they won't be in school. So we'll have walk-in opportunities and also meet and greet opportunities at FanFest for them to meet with some of the athletes.
Wonderful. Thank you. One more question. And I had heard this presentation at Rotary Club before, actually, so I know some of the answers. But could you just speak to how volleyball has grown in the region overall and what this could mean for the future of our city in volleyball?
So volleyball is the fastest growing sport in New Brunswick by far. 195 teams participated at the Agrina and 2 schools in December. And there are 6 major events for Volleyball New Brunswick, which now happen in Moncton. And the STEAM report on those is that they deliver $3.66 million to the economy every year.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, exciting. Looking forward to some volleyball. I'm more of a basketball gal, but I'll watch some volleyball.
We've transitioned a lot of people over to basketball. Come on over. From basketball, come on over.
Look at me.
I know Norval through basketball. Yeah, good stuff. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. And don't forget to buy your tickets as well, right? Councillor Turner.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'd like to ask again, Norval and Tracy, I'm sorry to have you sit down. I'm trying to get on the agenda quicker, probably. The question I have, actually, you're talking about previous tournaments to this one being held. Do you know where it was? Like, it would have been like 4 years ago, I guess. Where would it have been previous to this tournament? Do we know?
No, I have no idea where the last one was. I do know that we were in a very competitive bid with Puerto Rico. It went back and forth, I think, 3 times, and ACOA and RDC and the city of Moncton really came to the table to make sure that we were able to keep it in Canada, and then Moncton was awarded it after that happened.
I thank you for that. I was assuming that Canada was awarded the tournament, and then we won out in Canada, so it was actually all the countries were in the running, and it came down to us and Puerto Rico. Like, hey, that's good news.
All the other NORCECA countries were eligible to apply. And when Tracy says it was a competitive bid, it was a competitive bid. And we know how hard the city staff worked with us to make sure. But at the end of it all, we are convinced that the Avenir Center and having those hotels so close really helped us seal the deal. Because the transportation cost, which is huge for events like this, was significantly reduced. And that's, we feel, gave us a huge lift, other than the people. Moncton sells itself on the people, but that's, we think, was the big deal.
100%. We've had a great history of hosting sporting events at all different levels of genres, and it's wonderful to see volleyball rising to the top here in Moncton, and because of the Avenir Center and the strength of that. But I got to say, the leadership from the two of you, having you co-chair, is amazing. We're fortunate to have strong volunteers in our community who will step up when the opportunity presents itself, because we need that. It's great to have volunteers, but you've got to have leaders who have got experience. Thank you for your stepping up for this occasion. We want the community to get in behind it and support it, and see just exactly what we can look forward to. And obviously, a lot of other sports organizations will be watching how this tournament is received. There's obviously lots more opportunities down the road and other aspects that we can host, and this is a great opportunity. So again, thank you, and appreciate all you're doing for our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor.
I sort of had 2 more small things.
Okay.
I just wanted to recognize, first of all, thanks Sarah for, I'm sure when she volunteered to step in today, didn't realize quite maybe the emotion that would come over her with the message that she was delivering. And I want to thank her for doing it. I had the pleasure of serving on council with Bill in the driver's seat, let's say, in the department, and the amazing job that he would do coming to council, educating council, being able to smooth over the rough waters, let's say, when there were issues with any kind of proposal that came before us. The passion he had, sort of soft-spoken, easy sell, not easy to sell, but he made it look easy, but he could bring the parties together, and it was amazing to see that in action. He worked, like I say, closely with us as councilors before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting, answering our questions, taking the time. So he is really was a tremendous asset to our organization, and I know you showed that and demonstrated that by your emotions. So I thank you for doing this, and I thank you for the recognition that has been bestowed upon him by the efforts of the department. Thank you. And my last one for Mr. Hebert. This is a question. I know you've talked about 40 acres and the development, etc. I didn't catch where the 40 acres are, if it's in Dieppe or Moncton or
No,
outside.
it's at 2326 Salisbury Road. It was part of the Moncton Township when it first started.
So that's just outside the boundaries?
It's outside of the boundaries. It's in Salisbury, but
Okay.
it was once upon a time. It was the foundation of the Moncton Township, and the map was created by Anthony Wayne. And on Anthony Wayne's map, it actually shows all the sites along the river from Halls Creek to Beausoleil Historical Site. And on that, he brought in the first settlers that came, the Steves and the Trites, and he drew on his map exactly where they built their cabins. So that map, you can look it up. It's I got it on a website, Beausoleil Historical Site .gmail, and it'll show you exactly. And I've got all information you want on Moncton, the first houses, where they are. But today my agenda was for Beausoleil to raise the flag because he was originally from the Moncton Township, and no one had knowledge of it.
And coincidentally, I just happened to have the opportunity last Wednesday to be out on the marsh on the dikes with Henry Phillips.
Okay.
I'm sure you know Henry well.
Quite well, yes.
Showing me the dikes and the trail system and the history with the Acadians, and he mentioned yourself and the work that you've done to work along the shoreline there to bring that history back so that we know what's going on. He's very, very passionate, I'm sure, as you know, as well.
Yeah,
and done a great job of preserving it and the dike system. They were cutting grass and manicuring the trail system there last week while I was there visiting. So yeah.
Yeah, and then also in the Moncton Township, you will find the only thing that survived the deportation in 1758. That's when the deportation was done in Moncton. There was a chapel, and that is definitely in the city of Moncton. And you also have, I found a cabin that was back. I don't know if it was there before the deportation, but it was eventually, it was a cabin back in the woods that I have located. And I could go on and on. My ancestor, James Charters, buried the Free Meeting House. Buried there 16 years before it was built. No one ever knew about this James Charters till I mentioned it. Moncton has a lot of history that there's no knowledge of. The way I've done my research is altogether different than all these historians and researchers, and that's the reason I was able to find what I found. So if Moncton's looking for anything in the past, I've got it. It's not documented in a book or anything like that. The original map I do have. People go on the books and say, well, so-and-so was there. Well, when you do the real maps, it wasn't there. Where the Trites were, where the house was, where the first houses were in Moncton. Everybody, I have the maps to support it. So I'm saying, the Indians, the natives, there was an Indian, they hunted caribou at Moncton, Romeo Airport. They did the runway. They didn't even know what was there. They found artifacts. They hired all the archaeologists they could find Till today, they don't know what they were looking for. But the map shows where the Caribou Plain was. And I also found in my research an Indian wharf and an Indian reserve that no one has knowledge of. I know the documents do exist. I do not have them, but they do exist. I will find them when I get time. But right now, I'm busy at Beausoleil Village, working there day and night. So you're all welcome to come and visit it. And that's the most important Acadian site that we have here. And it's a tourist trap, and it's all done. It's right there. The public can walk. There's walking trails there. There's picnic tables there. There's barbecues. There's boardwalks. And you want to watch the tidal bore? You go right there. You can hear the water roar coming, and the river. The tidal bore comes. It fills the river. It's an amazing sight that Moncton should be very proud of. That Beausoleil is a historical important person of Moncton.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We appreciate your efforts very much and wish you the best of luck on the 15th of August. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kavukian.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few notes. First of all, Norval McConnell, don't get up. You can stay seated. I just wanted to mention, Norval, that you seem to be involved in every single community-related activity I ever hear about. And so I wanted to mention that I'm not sure when you find time to sleep, because you really are everywhere all the time. So I wanted to thank you personally. I know I had big shoes to fill when I took a seat on the District Education Council after you'd stepped down. And so, you know, it's been my great pleasure ever since to follow you around, seeing all the wonderful things that you're involved in. So I just wanted to thank you very much for that. Sarah, Bill Budd was not someone I ever worked with. At the time, though, I was a critic on the radio, talking about city matters a lot with one of my fellow councilors here. And there was a lot to critique, but not about Bill Budd. He was a solid professional, and I found that his way of explaining planning was something that everyone could understand, even those of us, you know, amateurs like me who have no planning background. So I have to say that he made our job easy, and so I just want you to know that he's remembered even by people who didn't work with him as someone who could be relied on to present things in a comprehensive way that helped us to understand more about the city. And finally, Laurie Hébert, oh, you don't have to get up, sir. It's okay. I don't have a question for you. I just wanted to say thank you so much for presenting this today. I'm a political scientist, which means I always have historian envy, but I'm also a relative newcomer to Moncton. I've only been here for 5 years. So Moncton's heritage, and specifically its Acadian heritage, is something that's deeply important to me, even though I don't have a drop of Acadian blood. It's really important to me to be a good citizen of Acadie. And so hearing about Beausoleil's relationship with Moncton is an exciting thing for me. And I'm not sure what we'll do about whether or not the city will raise a flag, but I would certainly love it one day if you would show me around the Beausoleil area. That would be great.
Welcome anytime. Just give me a call.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Madam City Clerk, not seeing any other questions or comments.
Okay, next is administration presentation, les exposés de l'administration. We have one this evening. It's an update from the RCMP. Superintendent Benoit Jolet is here to provide us the update.
Welcome, Superintendent. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Crossman, Moncton Council, city staff, and remaining people in the gallery. Councillor Turner, it was 2023. It was in Charleston, West Virginia, the last competition. So the last time I was held in Winnipeg, in Canada, was in Winnipeg. So I checked that out because I'm a volleyball dad as well myself. So I'm going to be checking that out. A lot has happened since I last reported on June 15th. Prepared a report for you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I won't go through every point, but if you have any specific questions, I'd love to answer them. I will go over some of the items that were on the report, though. First of all, obviously, with the end of school and a lot of stuff that's going on, our community policing team and our members are doing a lot of different community events throughout the tri-community this summer. Community engagement, attending events, bike safety, collaboration with our community partners, visibility patrols on foot and our bikes and our police vehicles, and even a private, show from Constable Brochu, who sang to some people at a specific community events. He's got many talents. We continue to use our Facebook page for this and a bunch of other things that we like to advise the community about. So I'll go into, if we talk about community policing and community events, the really successful car shows, the nationals that happened this last weekend. So I'd like to draw a line between the organized events, which are always fantastic, never any issues in the areas that are organized in the city, and the organizers, the volunteers, and the security personnel. So if we think about Main Street, if we think about Centennial Park, but there's a stark difference with the non-organized activities. And that's where all the issues happen. And specifically over the last 2 years, we've taken a measured approach, education, be there, make sure people are safe, to have fun. But what we saw from some residents and some non-residents that showed up over the weekend, they were not here to have fun. They were here to cause issues, and some people almost got seriously hurt, residents getting run over by people that were driving erratically, extremely fast, extremely dangerously. So what I will say to Moncton Council and to the residents is we will not be tolerating that next year, and we will come in force. And obviously the measured approach did not work, specifically for those non-organized areas. So we have a year to work, and we're going to continue to work with our partners here in the city and the organizers, because it's a fun event, but we want to make sure that it's safe for everybody. One success story that I'd like to speak about, and it was on my report. I'd just like to bring note to it. So this was back in February. There was nearly $500,000 of power tools that were stolen in London, Ontario. And unfortunately, these items all showed up here in our area on June 17th of this year. One of the reps from the company located some of the stolen items that were on at a private retail store here. Also in Summerside, Charlottetown, and Montague in PEI. So our crime reduction unit, specifically our property crime team, started working on this file with our new PEI partners, and it led to the writing of 4 search warrants for 4 different locations, and those were executed on June 23rd. 1 in Moncton and 3 in PEI. We sent some of our people to PEI to work there, and an estimated value of about $200,000 of 300,000 stolen property was seized. So the investigation is ongoing in partnership with our colleagues in PEI and in Ontario. On May 21st, we may have remembered that Mr. Jesse Bennell had escaped legal custody from Kodiak RCMP on Macbeth Avenue. Since that date, our members were working hard investigation using both traditional and non-traditional advanced investigational techniques. And on July 2nd, following numerous leads, we were able to track him to an address in Dieppe. So with the use of the emergency response team, we were able to take him safely into custody, and he faces a very lengthy list of criminal charges. And this is an individual who has the dubious honor, I guess I could say, of having escaped twice from Kodiak RCMP, once at our facility, and this time it was at the hospital. So he's safely in custody now, and will be so for an extended period of time. On July 7th, members of our crime reduction unit and our integrated enforcement unit partnered with the Miramichi Police Force with information that we had received regarding a man that was operating on Redmond Street, illegal drug activity, and we executed a search warrant on the 14th of this month. 47-year-old man was taken into custody, as well as another male and 3 females. During the search, Large quantity of cocaine, fentanyl, contraband cigarettes, and cash were seized. Just one of the many drug seizures that have happened over the last month and a half. There's another one that I'd like to bring to council here is in April of this year, we are alerted to the disappearance of a 28-year-old man from Moncton. We maintained the investigation and made several attempts to locate the missing person. And for anybody who has a look at our Facebook page, we have a lot of people that are reported missing to us. People care for their family members, their friends, whether they're housed or unhoused. We make every effort to locate these individuals. This particular individual, the trace had worn out. We weren't able to locate this individual. However, between June 22nd and 24th of this year, we executed 2 warrants at 2 residences located on Henry Street in Moncton in connection with the investigation. And unfortunately, the Major Crime Unit has taken over this investigation and are considering his disappearance suspicious at this time. So when I have further results, I'll bring it back to council to provide an update. On June 23rd, at about 2:30 in the afternoon, our members received information that a woman was being held against her will in a vehicle by an armed man. During the incident, the woman was able to contact us and provide information about her situation before the call was interrupted. Obviously, we deployed every available resource to this call for service, and it led us to Nova Scotia. We learned that the vehicle may be traveling in that area, so we contacted our colleagues in Nova Scotia RCMP and issued a request to locate the vehicle. Luckily, members of East Hants District RCMP located the suspect vehicle near Elmsdale, Nova Scotia, and conducted the traffic stop and confirmed that the woman was being held against her will. She was safely removed from the vehicle, and the members arrested a 28-year-old man without incident. He remains in police custody, and the investigation is ongoing. Over the last, since June 22nd, we've been slowly moving in to 199 Albert from 520 Main. I think I underestimated it because it's been an extremely complex endeavor. If we speak about court exhibits, thousands of them, court files, tens of thousands of them, people, desks, furnitures, equipment. It's been a very complex ordeal, but it's going extremely well. And we are at the threshold of being able to advise residents that we can serve them at 199 Albert. Not yet. It's still 520 Main, but I'm very excited, and it will be. We will use the City of Moncton and our Facebook and media releases to advise, but we're almost there, and we really look forward to serving the residents of the tri-community from our new facility. I'm available for any questions, Mayor Crossman or Moncton Council.
Thank you, Superintendent. I truly appreciate you submitting your report well before, so it gives council enough time to read all the documents. So I do have quite a bit of questions out there. Councillor Doyle, you're first.
Hi, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 sets of questions, if you don't mind. My first one is around the drug seizures that you had mentioned. Can you tell us approximately quantities, amounts, value, and was there any connection to the drugs that were contributing to the overdose situation that we're still grappling with?
Yeah, I don't have the exact amounts here, but when I write on the report specifically, obviously some of these are still active investigations. That's why I don't give specific amounts. But when I write down, it's a good question. When I write down a large quantity, we're talking close to the kilogram amount. Okay. So we're not talking about a small personal use amount. Connection, I can't confirm any connection with these specific drugs that were seized at these specific ones, but that's our goal. Our goal is to take as much stuff off the street because it's not only users, people that are addicted, but it's the people that are not addicted. We don't want new users. We don't want young or old people to be consuming these legal drugs. And even if we could do a search warrant every single day, there will always be more, unfortunately. We will never stop.
Thank you for that. When you do seizures, do you do testing? I'm curious because we know that what was causing a lot of the issue was a vet tranquilizer. When you do these seizures, I'm assuming there's a level of testing that gets done. Am I accurate?
Yep.
Cool,
Yeah, every
thank
time we seize drugs, we use Health Canada, and they're able to provide us exactly what's in it, and if there's any kind of, I guess, different ingredients of the norm.
Great.
And that's things that we take back to our teams and our criminal analysts and compare with the rest of the province to know if it's happening here, if it's happening there. There's also the intelligence side, because often we get messages from St. John or Fredericton who are very similar to us to say there's a new strand of fentanyl, and then it allows our people to be out there and be more available to and be alive to that.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And my second set is around what happened on Mountain Road on Saturday. I'm sure we all knew this was going to be coming up. And so I appreciate you drawing the line between Atlantic Nationals and these kind of unsanctioned, unscheduled, unofficial stunting events, right? Illegal stunting events is what we're looking at. I think, though, we all knew that this was coming. It happens every year, and it seems like it's getting worse and worse every year. So I am happy to hear that next year there'll be much more a zero tolerance. I will say I'm a little disappointed. I had reached out with staff to say, what is the plan here, and was assured that there was a plan. And when I look at the videos that are circulating online, it doesn't feel, my perception of it was that the plan did not work. I'm sure for your folks, it was not a pleasant experience to be screamed at the way they were. I'm sure it wasn't a pleasant experience for the folks who were taken to the ground. And I know it wasn't a pleasant experience for the residents who live in that area and folks who are trying to use Mountain Road, because like many people on council, I've received a ton of messages around this. And I guess my ask is that if staff, our staff and your folks can kind of come together to do a bit of a debrief. What was the plan? What worked? What did not work as well? And then going forward for next year, what will that look like? Because this can't happen again. It was incredibly troubling to watch. Not just the stunts, but seeing kids walking in the street with cars driving by, regular traffic trying to go by. We are so lucky that nothing worse happened than it did. And so I'd really like to see a debrief on that, and I hope that that's doable and possible.
Yeah, well said, and that's obviously part of the plan.
Okay.
Because we already have the dates for next year, so we've already started planning. We started planning today for that, because, like I said initially, it's just another positive event for Moncton, and we want to keep it that way. There's a lot of our employees go to these events because they like cars. I'm not a car guy. I'll do something else, but there's a lot of people that love cars, and they're there, and some of our members have cars in the show.
Cool.
But the unsanctioned events, and they happen once in a while here and there, but now with this specifically, it's an unsafe situation for everybody.
I agree. Yeah, fireworks being launched into crowds, people thrown to the ground. It wasn't a good look for Moncton.
Not at all.
Wasn't a good look for any of us, and certainly not for the Atlantic Nationals, which is such an important event for the city. And I would hate to see it affected by what happened, by events like what happened on Mountain Road on Saturday. So thank you for your folks. I saw them in the video. I know that was probably a miserable night. And I'm looking forward to kind of seeing this debrief and what happened. Thank you. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Superintendent, I don't see any other questions from council members at this point. I will chime in with regards to what Councillor Doyle has just expressed, that a briefing is needed to this council and to the residents of Moncton, quite honestly, on what happened on Saturday night along Mountain Road. And I'd really like maybe some sort of clarification from you, because I've heard some rumors floating throughout the community since then that our Moncton police officers were yelled at and addressed the wrong way on site and things along this line. Did any of that actually happen?
That we were yelled at?
Yeah.
We get yelled at every day.
Oh,
Mayor
wow.
Crossman.
Sorry. I don't know how to phrase it.
I don't know. No,
Do I
speak
say you
candidly.
were yelled at, sworn at, insulted?
All the above.
All the
Mayor
above
Crossman, yeah.
at this one event. And let's specifically be on this one event on Mountain Road
Yeah.
where there may have been youth, there could have been children, youth, other people that, you know, could have been exposed to what your members are going through. Is that?
Yeah, and look, we wear a uniform. It's, I guess you could call it an armor, but we're all human beings and we're all residents of the tri community in the areas here. And we all go to the stores on Mountain Road there. We all eat at those restaurants. We go to those pharmacies. We park our cars at those spots. But our members were just trying to do their job and ensure public safety. And when I said at the start, we've done a measured approach in the past. It's all about stop the negative behavior, get away from where the families and children and the groups are, and it's more about education instead of just writing 500 tickets, 1,000 tickets, and arresting everybody. But it doesn't work, and we've seen it over the last 2 years. This year was the worst that I've seen since 2019, since I've been here. It's unfortunate because it takes away from the positivity of the event. But I look forward to what Councillor Doyle mentioned, and what you're asking for is to meet with city staff and also with the organizers to see is there anything that we could do better, because it's always about what we can do better and making it safe for everybody. But our people had a rough night on Friday night too. Friday was not as bad, but Saturday night, but they all showed up for work the next day, and we'll just carry on.
So would you mind explaining to me what happened Saturday night for our members? Like when they got on site, what was the plan? What was the initiative?
Well, we responded to complaints of people doing burnouts, races, and all that in that specific area, and it's a busy summer night in Moncton, so there's a lot of calls for service going on. On top of that, and our responsibilities for here to make sure that it's safe, because we have road closures and that. We had extra people set for this specific event, but we didn't have enough people to deal with the amount of people that were there. And for those, I don't have social media, and I'm happy because it helps me sleep at night. But my wife showed me, she's like, "Did you see this?" I'm like, "Yes, I know what happened." And like our members got circled by people that were just angry and intoxicated, and there's people of all kinds of ages. And the problem is in that big group, there's a lot of people that are there to have fun, and they're just there, they're curious, and they're going to get stuck in a negative situation and could get hurt, because it's always a tiny little percentage of the population that cause problems like this. But this is my commitment to this council and to the residents here. It will not happen again. It will not happen again, because we have a duty to preserve public safety and order. And it was at the cusp of losing control on Saturday. Didn't get there, but it was pretty close.
Good. Thank you, Superintendent. I appreciate your honesty on this. Thank you very much. I do see some councillors have hit their lights after the fact. So, Councillor Kingston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ben. I just wanted to touch on the weekend, because we all had the video sent to us regarding Facebook, and you're very fortunate not to be on it. Ben, how do you do that? But it's great. And I think we all play a part in the mass media messaging in the spring and summer of 2027, led by your Facebook page with the RCMP, that private radio stations in the city, whoever, we get together in this and we disarm the people that are coming in and not having fun, as you put it. And the more we do that during 2027, I think the mass media message blitz that this will not be tolerated will certainly be accepted, I think understood. I don't think we can do it in parcels or piecemeal. It has to be a concerted effort led by, obviously, your department. So thank you, Ben, for that on Saturday night. Glad it stayed within control, as you said. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Superintendent Gillette. Two questions. Actually, one relates to Atlantic Nationals. Would you have data on tinted windows that were stopped? Would that be for next report, maybe? I received a question from a resident about that.
Yeah.
You would
for the weekend, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's easy stuff.
It's easy, okay. I'll email you. Thank you. And then secondly, not related to Atlantic Nationals, regarding your changing of buildings, just being that's over the summer, I know come the fall, a lot of people need vulnerable sector checks for school and whatnot. Will there be any time that those won't be happening with the transition, the vulnerable sector check or the criminal record check that you normally go in the station for?
No, that's a good question. So when we do there's like one complicated transition that we need to do. Obviously, it's for front counter service or cell block and our day-to-day uniform operations. There's only going to be one day. It's only going to take one day where there's going to be no front counter service, and we'll advise the
give some
the
notice
community about that. Yep. But yeah, it's only going to be one day.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Not seeing any other questions, Superintendent. So I also want to say, where are we at on the open air drug use? Specifically around Ensemble and the shelter on St. George Street. If you could give us some sort of background on that, because I didn't really see it in your report.
Yeah, so it's something that we're doing sporadically with our crime reduction unit. Obviously, if we have information on people that are selling drugs from our residents, whatever, the members are going to focus the priority on that. But it's still part of our regular patrols doing that. And there's not a lot of areas, to be honest, compared to I guess 2-3 years ago when we started doing that. But there are still some troubled spots. And unfortunately, some of the users are still doing it in those same areas. So I think we're going to have further discussions in all that, because if you ask a user, for example, like even when I've spoken to council in the past, I've done that myself with our members, do open air drug enforcement, and I get asked the same question all the time. It's like, I'm addicted to drugs. Where am I supposed to do my drugs? I didn't have an answer for that addicted individual. I'm like, I have no answer. I'm like, well, drugs are illegal. You shouldn't do it. You're like, yes, but I'm hooked. What do I do? Where do I do it? I don't want to disturb people. Where do I do it? I'm like, I don't have that answer. And I think I've mentioned this in the past at council. So I think this is something that we're just a small part of that group, but it's the municipality, us, and all the service providers for those locations in the province. Because it's not something that's going to go away. It's something that we got to work with and make it as positive as possible.
Good, thank you. And I have yet to see the new station, so I guess outside of going in there non-voluntarily, is there some way that you and I can get a tour? And because I know a lot of that building is going to be coming down into lockdown pretty soon.
Yep. No, absolutely. Like right now, we're right in the thick of it, but as soon as the dust settles, absolutely.
Good. Thank you, Superintendent. Not seeing any other questions, so thank you this evening.
Thank you.
The next item is planning matters, a question d'urbanisme. And the first one is a tentative subdivision plan. Sébastien Giroir is for cash in lieu, and I see Paul Edgar making his way to the podium.
Good evening, Paul.
Good evening.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Administration has received a subdivision application on behalf of Sebastian Girard. The proposed subdivision is located in Ward 4. The area outlined in red here is on Crowley Farm Road, and it shows the location or the extent of what the new lot is going to look like. So the purpose of the tentative plan is to create lots 2401 and 2402 for residential purposes. As a condition of subdivision approval, 10% of land must be turned over for land for public purposes, and that excludes any public streets that are being created. There's no public streets here. Council may also require, or instead of land, 8% of the market value of the land. In consultation with the Recreation Department, it was determined that land for public purposes was not required for the area. So as such, administration was recommending that Moncton City Council require cash in lieu for land for public purposes in the amount of $13,220.45 for the Sebastian Girard subdivision. Thank you.
That's all, Paul?
That is all, sorry, yeah.
Good, thank you. So, council, we have a motion on the table this evening. So, looking for a mover and a seconder. Question, okay, I need a mover and a seconder for the motion. Okay, Councillor Doyle and Councillor Richard. So, moved by Councillor Doyle, seconded by Councillor Richard. Now, I will open it up to questions. Councilor Doyle, since you moved it, I'll give you the honor. Do you have a question? Okay, so since you moved it, you'll be first to ask questions. Just give me a second here, and you should be good.
I'm going to move everything now that I know I get to talk first. It's a quick question. How do we determine whether or not we need land for public use in projects of this? Your recommendation is that we take the cash in lieu. How do we decide when we need it and when we don't?
So it is a not quite a quick question or a quick answer, but it's okay. It's generally, if you're dealing with a large street or large piece of land, for sure, we want to try and get some land there to help build places for playground space. This specific case, we'd only get about 1,100 square meters. One of our smallest parks is about 3,800 square meters. And it only is viable because there's trails connecting to it. So anything smaller than 3,800 square meters is too small for a playground park. So one of the other things with this one is you get disconnections when you create these smaller little pieces, and it just doesn't make for good planning and for good layouts of parks and connectivity.
That was an easy answer. What do you mean? That was great. Thank you. That's
Is that all,
Thanks,
Councilor?
Thanks, Mayor.
Good, thank you. Councilor Legier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question along the same lines. So I'm a longtime user of what has long been an informal park just behind this parcel, and mountain bikers have been using that area, trail runners and snowshoers for decades. And it used to be this parcel, before there was a house here, this was the primary access off Crawley Farm Road into that network of trails. And kindly, when they did develop the spot, they worked with folks to find a new access. But there's going to be a lot going on in this larger area over time, and I can't help but wonder, and I've done my best to look at our maps here and with some maps that I have my own. This is right along, I believe, a natural gas easement, maybe.
There's a sewer easement.
Sewer easement. Thank you.
Water and a sewer easement in the vicinity of the area.
So when this was presented to the Recreation Department, was that a consideration for current or future access off of Crowley Farm Road, not for a park, but for a trail connectivity using any part of this parcel?
Right. So what will happen when the road from Crawley Farm connects up to Louis J. Robichaud or Leopold F. Bellevaux, that connection on that side, they'll be guaranteed to have sidewalk on one side and multi-purpose trail on the other. So that guarantees you at that point that you've got that connectivity through there. From in behind, it's a little bit more difficult to get trail systems installed because of the wetland setbacks and the trail setbacks 30 meters like that. So they took all that into consideration whenever they're looking at the area. One of the other big concerns and considerations was we're going to have, with the land purchase and the LFPP turnover, close to 114 acres of land turned over to us just in that little stream area in the future, just north of where the bridge is going to be. So there'll be plenty of LFPP, plenty of green space in there. And with the land to the east of this new road, which will go through in the future, is all the UDM lands. As we know, based upon their campus now, they've got a lot of green space in there, and they're more than likely going to continue that type of green space over for both the residents that are going to live there and the students that are going to be there.
I guess my concerns are, I understand all these things are happening, and I think of the time frame that this development, could be 10, 20 years before all of these things are in place in the roads. But today, and for the past number of years, this has been important access, and I know there'll be access off of Leopold Bellevaux Drive and that, but I'm just wondering, I know that I don't know exactly where the line is on the ground, but we're very close to an access point. So I'm worried about us making a decision without having been absolutely sure that we haven't removed the opportunity for an important connection, because we want multiple connections from different areas so that people can utilize this space to the best of our ability in the short term and in the long term. And some of these connections might be better in the short term and it might change over the long term, but I just hate to be passing on an opportunity for a really clear connection without making darn sure that we cannot utilize that today.
Right, and I mean, one of the, if we can go back to the map, when we take or do our calculations or our stuff on LFPP, you generally take it from the new lot that's being created. So you would not be able to get anything from the portion that's outside of the red on the line as well. So you kind of, then you're into the other landowners that are there, which is not this gentleman. So, I mean, they when in discussions with Parks, they never brought that up, any concerns, considerations about that connectivity for the trail system, so.
And sort of last question on that point. They are subdividing that. Do we know just to offload that parcel? Is there any planned development that would exist on this new parcel?
Yep, there will be a new home built on that property.
Thanks.
Is that all, Councillor? Good, thank you. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wanted a clarification on the, I'm looking at the plot that we're dividing. In the bottom part of it, or the south part of it, 2401, obviously is the existing structure that's there today. 2402, just to the north end of this piece of property, was where the new structure will be located. So the driveway that looks to be there in green, shaded in green, is an existing driveway that's there today, and it will service the new house and the existing house.
Correct. So they'll have to, so the existing house on 2401 will have to have a reciprocal right-of-way agreement over it to allow, because it's on 2402's property.
That, I guess that was my question, yeah, because it looked to be, that's the right-of-way would belong to 2402 and 2401. It's going to need some kind of an agreement there, obviously.
It'll be family members that are on the new lot, so.
And you know what, I thought they'd be probably pretty close friends, so they'd have to be, but obviously 50 or 100 years from now, they may not be quite as friendly.
True, but yeah.
So that was my concern, I guess, sharing the driveway, but if it meets all the conditions, I understand, but that was the question, so thank you.
Sorry, that is definitely one of the things, and it's part of my job to ensure that those connection points and the easements over them, or the right-of-way agreements over them, are put in place before I ever stamp a plan for registration.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Paul, I only have one question or comment more than anything. The property that Council is looking at approving this evening is on private land.
Correct.
It's not city-owned land, correct?
Correct.
So this trail access to this new park that the previous council is leaning towards buying, we as a city will have to figure out a way to access that on our own property, not through private property.
Correct. It's a twofold, through other property and then in larger lots that are able to be developed. We may be able to work with them at the time of getting some connection points through. But kind of as I mentioned previously, there will be that multi-purpose trail running up alongside one of the, more than likely the left-hand side of the street running up to service the area to gain access to all the lands up in there.
Okay, as long as we're keeping that in mind and our recreation, Parks and Recreation is looking at that trail on city-owned property, so that we don't run into concerns down the road where you just explained it's a family, it could be, who knows what happens down the road. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, good, thank you.
Sure.
So we have a mover and a seconder. I don't see any other questions, so at this point, oh, sorry, Councilor Gier.
I just.
Oh, hold on, there we go. Yep.
I just want to propose, I think we can do this, in an amendment to have us last look at this before we sign off, make sure that it's not cutting off potential access.
Are you looking at an amendment, or are you looking at a postponement?
A postponement, I suppose.
Postponement?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Okay. Sorry. So I need a seconder for that. So it'd be seconded by Councillor Kevokian. There is no further discussion on this at this point.
Do we have a date? When we do a postponement, it's often that we want a date. Is it to the next public meeting?
Next public meeting.
Yeah, I think we can just want to look at it in detail to make sure where trails exist today, informal or otherwise, are right on this line. And I just want to have a very close look if that's possible, if we can make a final decision.
This is usually non-debatable, but I'm going to allow the city manager because I think he's probably looking for direction from you on this. So, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. Absolutely, that's what I was looking for. So staff will, again, go back to the recreational staff and look at potential access to future trails, city-owned, city-managed trails, and bring back, I guess, those findings or that review back to council for final consideration.
Counselor, is that fine? I just want to make sure that we don't send staff off on a wild goose chase. I want to make sure we're direct on this to staff.
There is lots of mapping for the trails that exist today for them to consider. Yeah.
Good, thank you. So at this point, I will ask for the vote. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I do. Yeah, electronic or hand?
Yes, electronic.
Electronic.
As opposed to you're voting on the postponement
Postponement.
until the August 17th meeting.
So motion passes. Thank you, Paul. Madam
Don't
City
move.
Clerk?
Don't move, Paul.
Oh, I know.
No.
The next is a tentative subdivision plan for Gordon Carson. It's cash in lieu once again. Go ahead, Paul.
Thank you. The next subdivision application was received on behalf of Joseph McDonald. Again, the proposed subdivision is located in Ward 4. The aerial map here shows the red outlines of the properties that are affected by an actual subdivision plan, bordered by Mapleton Road and Northwood Road. So the purpose of the tentative plan here is to create lots 2601 and 2604 for new residential developments. The other two lots, 262 and 263, are already existing developments, and the two parcels are just land management consolidations. Similar to the previous application, land for public purposes must be dedicated to the municipality, or council may require cash in lieu. Consultation was again carried out with Recreation Department, and it was determined that land for public purposes is not required for this property. So administration recommends that cash in lieu of the land for public purposes in the amount of $8,042.16 for the Gordon S. Carson subdivision. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. So council has a motion in front of us this evening. Deputy Mayor Richard, you wish to move that motion? And you have a question. Okay, looking for a seconder. Councilor LeBlanc, you wish to second this? Okay, good. Deputy Mayor Richard.
Thank you, Mayor Crossman. Thanks for the presentations, Paul. On this one, parcel 26A, parcel 26B, what do they become as zoned? What can go up there?
So basically, the parcel they're getting attached, they're R2 now, I believe, and they will remain R2. I don't have the zoning map with me. But they would remain R2. Whatever the zone is now, they would remain. So they're just basically getting, like 26A is being attached to the larger parcel to the north, and 26B will go to the parcel lot 74-3 to the east. But they maintain their existing zoning.
And so what can be built there just for?
Just, it's just additions on, but right now, nothing on those, because what we've done between parcel 26B and 26-3, we've left enough room for a street opening in the future.
Okay.
And that is how we want to see this proceed in the future, is an actual street going in before anything else get built on the large piece of land that's been created.
So right now, parcel 26A could build the same as lots 26-2, 3, and 1?
It could, but that would be a flag lot, and we have a definite want to see a future street go through there in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Is that all, Deputy Mayor? Good, thank you. Not seeing any other questions, so at this point, Paul, thank you. I will call for the vote. Oh, sorry. All right, late. I'm going to take my time hitting your light then. All right, Councilor Turner.
Thank you, Your Worship. Curious, Northwood Road, is it serviced?
Yes, it is.
And is it city water or is it from a well?
It is city water.
That area is city water, so there's enough service there to obviously service this property.
Yep. The urban boundary runs up there for service and for the water and the sewer.
Is that Mapleton Road extension, is there still a well up there in that neighborhood, in that subdivision?
There could be some, but up the Mapleton Road itself, it runs up to Mapleton Heights subdivision to the second entrance for sure. Yeah. But there could be some intermittent wells up in there from people that have chosen to keep them. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. So, seeing no other questions, I will call for the vote. Councillor Butler, could I get you to please vote? Thank you. So motion passes.
Thank you.
Next is statements by members of council, les exposés des membres du conseil.
Councillor Mutch, I have you up first.
Thank you, Your Worship. Since our last council meeting on June 15th, it has certainly been a busy and rewarding first month as a city councillor. Depuis notre dernière réunion du conseil, j'ai consacré beaucoup de temps à écouter les résidents et les résidentes et à échanger avec eux afin de mieux comprendre les enjeux qui sont importants pour notre communauté. I've had the opportunity to connect with many Ward 3 residents through emails, phone calls, social media, and in person. Residents have reached out about traffic and speeding concerns, infrastructure projects, road reconstruction, housing, parking, and other neighborhood issues. An issue of particular concern is air quality in the North End. Councillor Butler and I are aware of residents' concerns and recognize that this falls under provincial jurisdiction. That being said, we will continue working with the province to advocate on behalf of our residents and ensure their concerns are heard and their quality of life is met. Je tiens à remercier tous les résidents et résidentes qui ont pris le temps de communiquer avec moi. Vos commentaires sont essentiels et m'aident à représenter les intérêts de notre quartier. Outside of council, I've enjoyed attending many community events throughout Moncton, including neighborhood block parties, cultural celebrations, local business events, and community gatherings. These experiences have reinforced just how vibrant, welcoming, and engaged our community truly is. Je tiens également à remercier les résidents et les résidentes du quartier 3, mes collègues du conseil ainsi que le personnel de la ville pour l'accueil chaleureux qu'ils m'ont réservé au cours de ce premier mois. C'est un véritable privilège de servir notre communauté et je suis enthousiaste à l'idée de poursuivre ce travail avec vous tous. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Councillor.
Residents and to
Thank you, Worship. First of all, I'd like to apologize. Last public meeting, I didn't get the opportunity to speak because of miscommunication on my behalf, so I apologize for this. But I wanted to take the opportunity to thank the electorate of Moncton for electing me as councillor at large for the next 4 years and serving as your councillor. I want to thank my wife Claudette for her support through all this. Obviously, the citizens, the neighbors, the friends, the people who stepped up to support us in our campaign. And Team Turner, who was with me back in 2016, still working to keep me, I guess, on council. I want to thank all of them for their support. And it's a great honor and a privilege to sit here around this table, and I do not take it lightly. It's something that I cherish very, very much. I want to also pass along sympathy and my condolences to the family of the late Robert Irving, who we lost in mid-May, May 19th, I believe it was. A real sad situation for our city to lose a man of his stature, of the contributions that he has made to our community. He arrived in Moncton in the early 80s, early to mid 80s. He arrived in Greater Moncton to basically sort of spearhead the Irving Corporation, I guess, in their developments in this market area. And it couldn't have come at a better time. We were just losing Eaton's, the catalog office. The retail was not shutting down, but downsizing. The catalog office shut down completely. In the same time, the CNR shops in around the 1985 area, they shut down. And then along with that, the CNR headquarters on Main Street shut down and downsized. So we were in a real quandary looking for how we're going to rejuvenate our city in the mid 80s. And the Irving family, led by Robert, really brought their thrust, I guess, here in establishing many, many companies. We all know about Cavendish Farms, we know about Midland Transport, and the list goes on. If it's paper products, diaper products, etc., Master Packaging, and the list goes on. But obviously, the Moncton Wildcats are the one thing that I think we're all very, very familiar with, and that really has put our city on the map right across Canada, a number of different occasions. And in particular, we're thankful for the Avenir Centre, which has really been a catalyst for our city in rejuvenating our downtown and our entire community. But without a major tenant like Moncton Wildcats, that project would never have happened. So we really own, I think, a real debt of gratitude. And again, my condolences to the family, to all of the Irving. I say the family, it's a large family of all the employees who work for the Irving Corporation on the loss of Robert in May. And I hope that our council will, in the near future, perhaps look at a way of honoring his legacy that he has really left in our community. He's made a real mark, not only in the business community, but things like the Capitol Theater, the Peter McKee Food Bank, the City Hospital on numerous occasions, and a lot of other things that we probably don't even aware of that they've supported in the community. So my condolences to them. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kavukian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've already mentioned that the Atlantic Nationals was in town this weekend, and I want to say that there were some aspects of the festival that were really fantastic. Most notably, I love that we were able and willing to shut down a portion of Main Street to vehicles and turn the center of our downtown into a pedestrian zone. If we can create pedestrian zones for a car-focused event, we can and should be doing it a lot more often for a lot more events. However, my plan to get to the Centennial Park portion of the event on Saturday was to bike there with my kid along St. George Boulevard, where as we all now know, we have a long stretch of bike lanes complete with bollards, which are supposed to indicate to cars that that lane is not for them, and that line is not to be crossed. The fact that not one car, but blocks worth of cars took over those bike lanes on both sides of the street is unacceptable. The fact that they did so with impunity is unacceptable. And seeing photos of that behavior, we decided against biking to the event as we'd planned, which is unfortunate because it was a beautiful day, and that would have been hands down the best, safest, and most efficient way to get there. Bike lanes are a promise. They're a promise to bike users, micro-mobility users, e-bike users, and even mobility scooter users that their trip will be a safe one, consistently in a dedicated space. Bike lanes are a promise to parents like me that their kid or their teenager will be safer taking that route to their destination. Parking in a bike lane is unacceptable. Long lines of cars doing so is also unacceptable. And non-enforcement of our city's rules is also deeply unacceptable. The temporary use of AT lanes, active transportation lanes, and multi-use trails for non-AT purposes is the closure of a lane of traffic. And just like closing a road to motorists, this should come with advanced notice, posted detours, and a whole lot more respect. I can tell you that there was no St. George Boulevard 18-lane closure listed on the list of street closures for the festival. I can also tell you that over the past 6 months, I've heard from thousands of Monctonians that they want the rules in this city to be enforced in an even-handed way. I'm really disappointed in the totally foreseeable rule breaking associated with this event that seems to have been tolerated to some extent in years past and was not sufficiently addressed this year. This needs to stop. I'm looking, and I believe we've already talked about this, I'm looking to have a discussion about this and other unacceptable behavior associated with the Atlantic Nationals as soon as possible. And I'd like to suggest that the CAO be seized of the matter and be able to report back to us with as many details as possible for how we're going to avoid this next year. The behavior on Mountain Road, I think we've all mentioned, it was absolutely uncalled for. But removing aspects of our city to residents, right, whether it's their park space, whether it's the places that they use to get their kids where they're going, whether it's the promise made by bike lanes, that's also unacceptable behavior. And I want everyone in Moncton to know that I take this very seriously and that I think we should all take it very seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ogier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just, same theme, but very specific mention, and that's around access to Centennial Park during Atlantic Nationals. I understand the importance and the economic spin-off of this event. It is important. The community, the neighborhood surrounding Centennial Park in particular, and the West End, or where I live, we're really impacted. There's loads of people that come in and spend a lot, and that's great. I think it's important to note that lots of folks in the West End leave town for the weekend because of the disruption. And one thing that's come up year after year and I hope will be added to the agenda and any debrief, is how do we make it possible for folks to be able to get out and run and walk and take their kid, their dog, what have you, from point A to point B, and sometimes that requires passing through Centennial Park. Using the Firebreak Road, Centennial Park Road, and while still maintaining a perimeter that it's paid access only for the park for that weekend. I think there's a compromise to be had there, but I'm hearing from constituents, and this is year after year after year, of people out for the regular daily run, walk, that are being stopped and told, oh, no, you can't come through here. These are important corridors. Sometimes there isn't a detour available when you're talking about a place to run and bike safely, free of cars. So we need to find some compromises. This is obviously a extremely successful event. That's great. It's a time for us to come back to the drawing board and see how we make it as operationally sound and as positive. Back to the superintendent's comments, how do we make this as positive as it possibly can be and as minimize the disruptions to the neighboring community? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was hoping that the superintendent would stay, but he had to leave, I guess. I was trying to find the right thing to say before I maybe got myself in trouble over this one. So I'll try. First of all, when any event goes on like this, and you know it's happening, I'm very upset that we did that. What happened on Mountain Road through videos, I wasn't there, but to see one car spinning and the white smoke coming up from the tires, and then a police car driving through the white smoke. I got the number. I'll probably send it to superintendent what the car number was. And I don't blame the members. I've been to places when in my career, and I'm sure Councillor Guedette, the same thing, that you just don't have enough people, and it's safer for the members to stay in the car than to get out. And when you get out, you're very vulnerable to the crowd. And I understand that. But when we know that things are going to happen like this, and we are trying to put ourselves on a stage for the Memorial Cup and for volleyball, world class, we have to show that we're not going to drop the ball when it comes to enforcement. And this is absolutely, absolutely unacceptable. Whoever done the planning for this should be held accountable. And that should be accountable to the mayor, should be accountable to the CAO, and also the council. But most of all, to the residents. You know, I've received, like many here, many calls. You know, the squealing of tires and wondering how they could get it to stop. You know, they're trying to go to bed. You know, older people, sometimes they like to go to bed a little bit earlier. Even so, seeing the videos and seeing children and their parents out on the sidewalk trying to take photos and cars sliding sideways, and you don't know if that guy had 5 minutes of driving experience or 10 years. And to let that happen without shutting down that road is unacceptable. So when somebody comes to the mic and says, you know, well, we'll plan better for next year, that is all right, but we have to wait till next year to see how that's going to work. But we were told at the very beginning of the year that they weren't going to do the burnout out in, I forget where it is, it's out by Petty Kodiak. They do the burnout. They weren't going to do it this year. So what's that tell you? If you know the history, it's going to come to town, and that's exactly what happened. And what happened up there is, I say it again, is absolutely unacceptable. And it goes back to what I've talked about at council, I don't know how many times, is about critical incident numbers. We can't ask how many was on patrol that night because it's an operational. But critical incident number, for those that have not been around policing, is that when you start a shift, critical incident numbers mean that you have enough members that if something critical happens, like on Mountain Road, that every car in the tri-communities, Moncton, Riverview, and Dieppe, don't have to go and look after that situation, that they still can police Riverview, Dieppe, and the rest of Moncton. And that night, I don't know how many police are up there. They pretty well, there was quite a few. I don't know if there's any overtime hired. We don't know any of that. But I just know that whoever was planning that, whoever was on duty, that was the supervisor or who was the officer on call, dropped the ball. And I would really, really hope, Mr. Mayor, that when you sit down to get debriefed, that you make it very clear to the RCMP that this cannot ever, ever happen again. This is absolutely out of control. So I'll leave it with that before I get any more and get in trouble. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate all of Council's comments with regards to what happened on Mountain Road and the impact on our residents and the impact on public safety. One note here that I did make this evening, Councillor, is that the superintendent, quote, said that this will not happen again. And this is probably 1 year, maybe 2 years, maybe 5 years too late. But I am going to have that debrief, and all of council will be made aware of it as well. So thank you, Councillor. Madam City Clerk, I don't see any other statements.
Next are reports and recommendations from committee and private meetings, les rapports et recommandations des comités et réunions à huis clos. There is one this evening from the Committee of the Whole of February 2nd, 2026. Moncton City Council at Committee of the Whole meeting of January 26, 2026 is recommending the following: that Moncton City Council adopt the updated agency boards, commission, and committees policy. The backgrounder on this: a review of the ABCC's policy was undertaken during the preparations of training sessions for committee presiding officers and staff leads. This review identified several areas for improvement to better support the policy understanding and implementation, and was presented to Council on August 25th, 2025, and again on October 27, 2025. On both occasions, Council had additional questions for administration. Responses to these questions were presented to Council at the Committee of the Whole meeting of January 26, 2026. The motion was forwarded to Council at their City Council meeting of February 2nd, 2026, at which time the following two amendments were made and voted upon: that the annual review of ABCCs, when it is an election year, be done by the incoming council as opposed to the outgoing council; that the lead administrator report to council any inconsistencies within an ABCC. A subsequent motion was presented by Councillor Butler that recorded minutes of any meetings of the selection group for an ABCC be kept whenever a member is being selected, and that these minutes be made public subject to any legislative limitations. The amendment was not put to a vote, and the entire motion was subsequently tabled. As the motion was tabled, Council will be required to vote on the final amendment prior to voting on the original motion.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So I have, I guess, a point of clarification. Because this was under the last City Council and it was postponed, does that mean that we need the last City Council sitting members to move this?
No.
I just want to make sure
No, because it's a
being postponed.
Because
and voted on.
elected a council is a continuation of the previous council.
Okay, good, perfect, thank you. All right, City Council, so we do have a motion on the table this evening. Looking for a mover and a seconder.
Yeah, we need to vote on Councillor Butler's amendment prior for recorded minutes of any meetings.
So that'd be the first motion that we will vote on? Okay, so Councillor Butler, you wish to move that motion?
I do want to have a question, just a statement.
Okay, and Councillor Richard, you wish to second. So Councillor Butler, you do have a statement?
Thank you, Your Worship. The issue is behind this is that we're sometimes asked over the years to almost rubber stamp appointments. And it comes to us at the sometimes Friday before the Monday meeting. And we have no idea what was said in the meeting, why things were selected. every one of our other meetings, or a lot of them, are always recorded as notes. So if we go back and want to find out, like, why did you make this selection, not that selection, that we can do that. But it's never been done. So I believe that we should have access, if we're going to make determination on anybody that goes onto any committee, that we should be able to go back and see why the committee selected certain people. So that's what it's about. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Turner, you have a question on the vote?
The question I have, I guess, is on the, probably not, this is an amendment here, right? Not on the amendment, no, on the actual.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the amendment first, and then we'll come back for your question. Yep. So this goes to electronic vote? Okay. So the vote, I'll call for the vote. Okay, so the amendment passes unanimously. Madam City Clerk?
Now you will vote on the motion as amended with the three amendments that were passed in February, plus the original that we adopt, the ABCC's, amended ABCC's policy.
So points 1 and 2 in the backgrounder, basically? Okay, good. Councillor Turner, you wish to move this? Hold on, I got to get out of that screen.
I'll move it, certainly.
And then I know you have a question, right?
Thank you very much.
Okay, good. So I'm looking for a seconder. Seconded by Councillor Kingston. So Councillor Turner?
Thank you very much. My question is, Appendix C, which is part of this package, obviously, is a list of the ABCCs, I guess, and elected officials, a number of elected officials in each committee. There's approximately, I think, 8 committees here that shows there are no elected officials on those committees, and I'm wondering why that is, and if it's an oversight or not, because many of these committees that have no elected officials on look like things that should have elected officials on them, looking at the titles of them.
So Councillor, you would be looking at page number 22, I believe. Is that correct? Just so that we're all of councils on the same page?
Appendix C
Appendix C
of the policy. It would be one of the last pages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it like page, I think it's 18 of 19, I think, or 19 of 19.
Okay, I've got 22 out of 23, so okay.
Depends on what you're looking on.
Maybe I'm looking at the wrong thing here, but it just.
No, I think we're right.
Yes.
It's just, again, first I looked at it and I thought, okay, those are just things that are not important, but you start looking at them, they are important.
Yeah, I was looking at them as well, because you had pointed them out prior to the meeting. We will review these to make sure that they're correct, because I'm looking at a couple here that I know that there are counselors that are on it. I'm just wondering if something was moved down and just not
lining up.
That could be what it is, because they were all correct, but it just seems like as if something's kind of weird here. So we will review it and we'll send out the updated to council.
Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Can we remove the vote off the screen, please? We still have questions. Okay, thank you. Councillor Kevokian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hate to be the fly in the ointment, but I would like to postpone this. And the reason for that is I think there's much more wrong with this ABCC policy that needs to be revisited. There are a lot of things that just don't seem to line up with current practice that haven't been changed. So for example, I'll just give you one example, which is that it says that there should be a maximum of 2 council members per committee. And I know I'm on 2 committees that have 3. So, and I have a list of other things that I could go through line by line in here. I think this gives a little bit too much power to the mayor to make these recommendations, and I think that's both, a problem if you anticipate that a mayor in the future might not have perfect judgment, but also just in terms of the mayor being someone who does the work of council and by the will of council. I think council should be more involved than simply being able to vote up or down on a list compiled by the mayor. I think when this became an issue under the last council, there was in fact an issue with precisely this problem of voting up or down on the list, and no change has been made to that I'm aware of here that would fix that. Another thing that is an alarm bell for me is under Section 8. Persons selected for an appointment must be a resident of Moncton or own and or operate a business with a Moncton address. Because it doesn't say how many members could be this owner or operator of a business that doesn't live in Moncton, we could actually risk a situation where we have an entire ABCC stacked with people who don't live in Moncton but just happen to work in a specific industry. So to me, these are just that's just a smattering of a bunch of things that I've written down here that I think indicate that there's more to be done. There's more work here. So I cannot support passing these changes without actually digging into it and passing others. Thank you.
So I did hear you say motion to postpone.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, we need a seconder for that before we can venture away from this. Councillor Doyle, you wish to second this? Okay, so there is no more discussion on this matter. Councillor, I can confirm, or maybe you can confirm to me, that in the CRF, the last page explains when it gets to the mayor. So I don't handpick these candidates that are coming forward. I don't want the impression that I picked XYZ to be on a committee, because there is throughout this policy, there is a process. And you can see that in the last page, that it's step number 4 when it gets to me. And then I share these with council. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that. That's all. It's just,
absolutely.
you gave me the impression that I was picking them.
No. In fact, I think that it's better for a mayor that a mayor does not seem to have been putting their thumb on the scale. It's not an accusation. I think we just have to think about rules like this as rules that last beyond our tenure, and could end up looking different under a different council.
Okay, good.
Right?
Good. So we have a motion, so electronic vote. So I'll ask for the electronic vote. And this, council, is a vote for postponing of tonight's ABC policy, item 10.1. So it passes unanimously.
The next item is a recommendation to private meetings of Moncton City Council of July 13th, 2026. Moncton City Council at its special private meeting of July 13, 2026 reports that the agenda for the private meeting of that date was adopted and recommends the following: that Moncton City Council approve the agreement of purchase and sale for the purchase of PID 00616433 from 1214851 Alberta ULC, being lands within the Turtle Creek watershed, and that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute all documents and amendments necessary to complete the purchase transaction and fix the corporate seal of the city of Moncton thereto. The backgrounder on this, the above acquisition, is consistent with City of Moncton's policy, disposition, and acquisition of municipal land, and with ongoing efforts to protect the region's water supply and surrounding land, increasing the production of the designated Turtle Creek watershed, also aligns with the city's strategic plan and Turtle Creek watershed protection.
So council, we do have a motion as read by the city clerk. So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Turner, seconded by Councillor Kavoukian. You have your light on to second this? Good, thank you. So moved by Councillor Turner and seconded by Councillor Kavoukian. Any questions on the motion this evening? Not seeing any, Madam Clerk, I will call for the question, or for the vote. So the motion passes unanimously. Madam City Clerk.
Next are reports from Administration et rapport de l'administration. The first this evening is quotation QP 26036, Commercial Electrical Services and Underground Repairs. The motion before Council this evening is that Moncton City Council approve the award of quotation QP 26036, Commercial Electrical Services and Underground Repairs to the following bidders, meeting the terms and conditions and specifications set out in the quotation, being Roadway Systems Limited for Section A, electrical services for underground repair, and Section B, commercial electrical services at the unit rate specified in the firm's quotation submission, which represents a total of estimated annual contract value of $743,600.93, including HST at 15% for 1 year. I believe that continues. Period with options to extend the agreement to a maximum of 4 additional 12-month periods if it's in the city's best interest to do so.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Deputy Mayor Richard, you wish to move this motion? Okay, good, thank you. And Councilor LeBlanc, you wish to second this motion? Good, thank you. Deputy Mayor Richard.
Thank you, Mayor Crossman. Not sure who would have been presenting. I see Tanya's name was there, or maybe Alexandre, I see her there. We only got one bid on this. It's electrical. We have tons of contractors in the area. Only one contractor bid on this.
Alexandre?
Thank you for the question. We've been discussing this. We obviously don't like when we have a single bidder only. In this case, we believe it's probably driven in part because of some of the requirements we have in there, like traffic, electrical, capital projects, where it's not just necessarily commercial type of electrical work. So we already started to think about in the future if there could be different ways to tender it, so it would attract more bids, maybe like isolate a portion of the work and the rest of the work being another tender. So we've been thinking about this, recognizing that it is not a situation that we do like to have when we can avoid it. So
Not with that many contractors in the city. I mean, it's really weird to see that. If it's breaking it down into different. I know one tender is a lot easier than a dozen, but yeah. No, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Councilor. Not seeing any other questions, so I will, I will wait a second. We have all of council here, so I will call for the vote. Motion passes. Madam City Clerk?
The next item is shared micro-mobility licensing bylaw, L926, and I see Charles LeBlanc, our Director of Enforcement, here to do a presentation for you.
Good evening. Can I get you to hit your light and we'll be off to the race? Perfect. All right, floor is all yours.
There you go. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, staff members, and members of the public. Tonight, I'm just gonna start presentation.
Justin, can we bring up that presentation, please? Or Kyle, sorry.
There we go. So tonight we're going to talk about exciting micromobility licensing. So tonight we're going to talk about some licensing that we're proposing. Tons of work has gone into this, and tonight I have France and Leslie with me later on if you guys have any questions for them. Basically, the purpose of this presentation is basically to introduce hopefully the new bylaw L926. And obviously to seek council's direction on city's immediate regulatory response, and as well as seek direction basically on a longer term micromobility. We're here today, back in September of September 22nd, 2025. This was brought forward to council, and then basically it sat for a while. There was tons of work done basically from internal staff. May 4th of this year, this was brought forward again to the previous council and basically was asked to be brought forward, and that's why we're here today for the consideration of the new bylaw. Why this matters is before you today is basically shared micromobility services are already emerging in the greater Moncton area. As you guys have seen, there's a lot of these, we'll call them e-scooters on our street. Currently, there's 2 companies that are operating in the city of Moncton. And we probably have currently today probably in excess of about probably 750 to 800 scooters that are being rented out to the public. And right now they're basically operating without any framework at all. Basically they can kind of do whatever they want. There's certain little aspect through the bylaw that we can deal with them, but that is extremely limited of what we can do. Obviously, some of the stuff that has been raised, questions about, we hear it every day. You guys probably hear it. Safety issues, accessibility, sidewalk. We see these things on the sidewalk all the time. They're taking space. They're parked all over the place. And really, we're very limited today what we can do about that. And obviously, you know, looking at the bigger picture, there's liability from our community. And it's like I just stated earlier, we have very limited enforcement oversight in what's taking place today. Basically, when you bring something like this, and I think we'll all agree, there's lots of opportunity by bringing these type of scooters to the public. It has mobility choices, like, you know, we're all about being greener. A lot of folks are using these. Like, it's amazing of how many people rent these on a daily basis. They're affordable. They do better transit connections sometimes to where the buses are at, just going to the next bus stop. It reduces the reliance on private vehicles for some trips. So basically, instead of using your big 3/4 ton, you can kind of move along a lot cheaper rate. And what we're seeing a lot more, especially in the summer of 2026, is how many tourists are using these to get around the city, to basically go the downtown and really embrace what the city of Moncton is all about, being in the downtown core. And of course, we want to support our downtown businesses. Basically, there's also a risk to this, right? We all see it. You can go walk down on Main Street right now. There's probably obstructions. Some of them are partially blocking the sidewalk. It provides issues for people that need accessibility. They're having a hard time getting around the sidewalks, especially around intersections area. So it does a huge impact on people with disability. Conflicts with pedestrians and traffic. Parking disorder, they're left all over the place. And of course, there's liability and insurance uncertainty. Like if something happens, who forks out the bill and who's going to be. And also, it creates pressure on municipal operations. And I can speak from a bylaw perspective. We deal with complaints. We have to go move these things, and so on and so forth. Why do we need a response? Why do we need to respond to this? Well, currently in the province of New Brunswick, there's zero regulatory framework for e-scooters or e-bikes. So basically, most other provinces have something in the Motor Vehicle Act that talks about e-scooters or e-bikes. The province of Brunswick has not opted to do that yet. Currently, as I stated earlier, there's 2 share e-scooter businesses that are already operating. They've been here for about 2.5 years now. Same companies are still operating. And we have very few practical tools to maintain basically what's going on out there. Moncton, basically has sent an advocacy letter back in July of 2025, and thus far we've received 0 response from the province as far as if there's going to be any changes to the Motor Vehicle Act. Having said that, what does the new proposed bylaw do? Well, it creates an immediate licensing framework for basically the 2 businesses that are operating, or any future business that want to come forward. Basically, them requiring a municipal license, setting operational or operating conditions. Basically, the bylaw would say of how they're going to be able to operate, how they're going to do business every day. Obviously, very, very important, requiring insurance, an indemnity clause, establishing parking and safe rules. We'll talk a little bit about that later on. and requiring technology and data access. The data that's collected every day, the data that's collected by these companies every day is vital. It's vital information for our city of where they're going, how long their trips are, how many people are using them, who's using them, and so on and so forth. So that data is important for us as city staff to basically be able to grab that data. And enabling enforcement. Currently, like I said, we can do very, very little at what's taking place. And if there's framework out there, then basically provides my staff, bylaw, and even the RCMP able to enforce like all sorts of different things. And I'll talk a little bit more in a minute about the enforcement part. Is basically this licensing gets into, I'll call it, indirect enforcement. So basically, a license is required. So if this was to go forward, each company would come forward, require a license. If they meet the requirements, a license would be issued. Conditions would be imposed on these companies, such as basically plans how to operate, how they're operating, and data collection, all that stuff. And then it would provide us staff in bylaw. Basically, we can monitor their operations. We would have access to their data. We can see what they're doing every day. We can see where they're going, how many person are using the scooters, where they're going. Are they being used on trails? Are they being used downtown? Are they being used all over the city? Cross borders between our colleagues in both in Dieppe and Riverview. And most importantly is that it'll provide us some information to do some enforcement. The obligations under this framework is obviously to obtain and keep a license. And they would obviously would have to provide us, because right now we have relatively no idea. They've been pretty open with us, but it would provide us with a business name, provide us with contact information that we would know where they're at all time. Device information, very, very important. Like if we have somebody that's creating, or there's a violation, right now it's just a scooter that says, I move or I roll, but really we don't have a whole lot more than that. So part of this process would be that each device would have almost like a license plate. It would have an identification number in the unit, basically it could be identified, and then we would know where to go with that. Again, obviously each businesses would have to provide us with all the insurance and all the big framework that my legal team really wants to see to make sure that the city, we're all safe. An implementation plan of how they're going to do and what they're doing and where they want to operate and so on and so forth. And obviously, we're going to make sure that there's some sort of an annual fee in order to do this. Some of their obligations, they would obviously have to maintain their device. That would be part of all the data that's sent to us. We would know what they're doing. We want to make sure that whatever device they put out there are safe to do so. There's maintenance, whether that's weekly, monthly, twice a year. I am not sure, but this is all it. And as well as to be able to respond to complaints in a timely manner. And I'll say from having dealt with them so far, both companies have been really, really good to deal with. And actually, going to my next point, they actually support enforcement. Surprisingly, both companies want to work with us. They want with the city. I know our director of legal has met with both company owners, and they've been more than helpful to work with us and open and sharing basically a lot of their data. And obviously, it's like I mentioned earlier, we want to collect and share operational data and basically, be able to report any type of incidents, whether 24/7, like we operate. We have a dispatch that all information, anything that happens is reported to us immediately. How do we manage public safety and space? As I said a few moments ago, basically this is an indirect, with the absence of the province not being there and being absent from a provincial side of things, basically what we're proposing in this bylaw, it's indirect enforcement. No sidewalk riding. How do we do that? Well, we've all heard of geofencing. Part of their programming, they can stop basically these e-scooters or basically from riding on our sidewalks. We can determine what those zones are. No operations on street over 50 kilometers per hour. I don't think any of these go 50 kilometers an hour, by the way. But we can also control their speed. We can say that anytime there's a recreation, like in the park, for example, so we can say that any park, they will not be able to ride more than 15 kilometers an hour. And maybe in our streets, our regular street, we can set it up that it's 25 kilometers an hour. And obviously on Main Street, which is a very, very congested area, we can set it at 15 kilometers an hour. These are all things that can be programmed through their system. And by law, we would have access, and our staff, we would have access to all this data to make sure that they're abiding by these rules. So I look at it, it's not like we're going to have the RCMP or bylaw sitting on a trailer, so they're going 25 kilometers an hour. We don't have to do that. It's already part of basically each unit that's going to be basically programmed in. Furthermore, the device must not obstruct sidewalks, curb, ramps, bus stops, driveways, intersection, entrances, municipal infrastructure. Once again, this is all stuff that can be programmed in their system. So basically that every time they get into a sidewalk, it'll just shut down. They won't be able to get on the sidewalk, right? And so on and so forth. So this is all programmable stuff that at the end of the day, this stuff will not happen. Right now, like basically some of our biggest things, they're on the street, they're on our sidewalks downtown. This is where we see them the most, right? They're blocking. This can all be avoided basically if we have control of what's taking place. Downtown parking, I know my friend Leslie has done tons of work in order to avoid basically the congestions we have, like, you know, like in the downtown. In the summertime, we have basically all the patios that are out there, creating even more, so to speak, congestion. But we want that. But when you add the scooters in there, it creates. Bylaw does get a number of calls on this. So basically, what this can do is what we're trying to do is find specific locations within the downtown area that's still within walking distance. And as like I said, Leslie has done an amazing job at trying to find some locations in the downtown area that this spot right here will be the only place that you can park it. And we'll have several areas in the downtown, so then you won't see all the scooters all over the place. And if you're not there, basically there's all sorts of action they can set on, again, the programming. If you don't end the ride there, then basically your ride is not shut down, so you're still paying for it. So all sorts of stuff we can work on. Again, this is proposed as an operational tool basically for business improvement so that you don't have the scooters in front of your business. Like we get calls on the odd time that they're they'll leave the scooters on an alcove and so on and so forth. And obviously it's intended to support orderly parking and reduce sidewalk obstructions, aim to provide accessibility, very, very important, provide predictable parking locations, and potential locations are still under review, but I think we're pretty close to finding some good locations for that. And how the city can respond to these conditions. There'll be all sorts of conditions. Obviously, we don't want these scooters running around year-round, because there'll be all sorts of accident. Typically, from what we've seen the last couple of years, is that both businesses typically, as soon as the first snow flies type thing, usually they remove them. Obviously, they want to have them the earlier the possible. I know this year they were trying to have them out there in March, but this is something as per what the bylaw proposes, is that the CEO can designate the dates, and basically the end date would be November 15th for them to put them up. Other conditions, you know, obviously if snowfall started earlier, we get snow, God forbids, in October. Basically we can have some sort of, restrictions on it, ice events, flooding, high winds, hurricanes. There's some pretty self-explanatory. How do we monitor compliance? As I said, we have access to the operator's software, and I can tell you right now, both operators are wide open and providing us with their software and actually see everything that they're doing. We can ask them for annual reporting. I would probably, I think they'd be open, obviously, to even provide it probably on a monthly basis. Amazing information for our staff, for our tourism, and so on and so forth of what's taking place. Also, 24-hour incident reporting, impounding of non-compliance device, recovery of monitoring and compliance costs, and obviously licensing and revocation of their license. So basically, we're proposing currently that there's a $50 annual fee for each device. So if you have 300 device, well, you're looking at, do my math, $15,000. $50 daily impound fee. If there's some sort of an issue, we would impound it. Administration fee, and obviously fines from there can go from starting at $140 up to $2,100, depending if there's conviction and multiple, obviously, convictions and so on and so forth. Not the long-term strategy. This bylaw is, obviously right now, it's an immediate municipal response. We have 2 companies that are operating out there that have so luckily we have 2 companies that are very, for the most part, respectful. They want to work with the city of Moncton. You can throw somebody in there that's not that way, so we can run in some issues. Focus on shared businesses and intended to manage the current risks that are out there. This bylaw is not a complete rider conduct code. So basically means that this bylaw basically doesn't typically deal, or it's not going to deal with basically the riders. When we speak about the riders, we always think, and I know the previous council, we talk about the safety of our riders, wearing helmets, the speed limits. That is something, again, both current providers are very, very open. Part of their software talks about for the riders to wear helmets. They provide the helmets for the scooters. They talk about liability of not wearing the helmets as soon as you go on their site or their app. So they're really working, but this bylaw really doesn't deal with that. We kind of do an indirect part of it, but at the end of the day, what the riders do, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. This is not what it's about. This is all about licensing. City's full long-term micromobility strategy. This strategy is for today. If changes should occur with the province in 6 months, 2 years, whatever the case may be, we may have to go back to the drawing board and make changes. And then once the province comes around, then we can look at longer term on how to deal with this. And again, this is no substitute for any future provincial standards that may come forward. So the next step, the recommendation, so basically our administration, our staff that has been working on this diligently, I can't take the credit, actually these folks have worked a lot more on this than I have, is basically to try to give a first reading for this proposed bylaw tonight. And then further on is to direct administration, once the province adopt legislation, regulation respecting e-scooters and e-bike, and basically at that time to develop a longer term Moncton micromobility strategies for provincial standards. What we do is, from our perspective, is if this moves forward, is basically we want to report back to you folks, basically on the initiative of what's been taking place in 2026 season, and then we would report no longer than January of 2027. Any questions? Like I said, I have France, the Director of Legal Services, and I also have Leslie, that's our Transportation Coordinator, to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you for the presentation. Really, truly appreciate it. So, Council, we do have a motion before us this evening that I'm looking to be moved and seconded before we go into questions. So, Councillor Butler and Councillor Richard, I see that you had your lights on first. Councillor Butler, you wish to move this motion?
I do.
And a question. Okay, Councillor Richard, you wish to second this? Do you have a question as well? Okay, so Councillor Butler, I will go to you first.
Thank you, and thank you, Charles, for the great presentation. I realize you get a lot of calls, and it's really frustrating when you know that there's really not a lot you can do. Bylaw officers can't stop a vehicle. It'd be different if we had peace officer status, but again, we'd also have to have the personnel to be able to do that. With that, we send a letter off to the government, and we get nothing back. I think what we did get back is that it's not on their radar yet, if I remember the correct phrase. Are we keeping any data regards to how many infractions we have? So when we send off to, what I'm asking that is we send off to the province, to public safety or to the justice, and we ask for something, and they say, well, we're not here, maybe they're not hearing anything or have any data. So maybe even with this bylaw that we're hopefully going to pass tonight, is that we'll also keep track of the infractions. So we'll have some kind of data to send to the province. We'll do that. That would be my first comment that to do. The other one is, have we spoke to any of the other major cities in the province, like St. John, Fredericton, Miramichi, any of them, and see if they're keeping any data, if they're having problems also with the e-scooters. So in other words, so when we go to send a package away to the province, that we're not just sending it as Moncton has a problem, but everybody else is all right. We should maybe, and I'm sure that you already have, but I'm just asking that maybe we put a package together with the other communities, the large cities, to find out, what they're having for problems. Because, it always amazed me. Underneath the Criminal Code of Canada, they call them a conveyance vehicle, as you well know. And as a former police officer, you also know that as long as it's got a motor, you can be charged for impaired driving. So we can charge them for impaired driving, but we can't charge them for going through a stop sign. We can't charge them for being on a sidewalk. So, it's amazing that the province, maybe not just this province, I don't know, but we're not keeping up with the times. The other day I was back on the trail and there was what they call an e-dirt bike went by me. Yeah. Like, holy mackerel, it looks, the only thing that was missing was the gas, but it was flying. Like, it's so we're not keeping up with it. And I think that us as a council must be asking for some kind of data so we can get something done with the province. So I'll leave that with you guys.
So to your first question, Councillor, is that currently there's actually very few violations. The only violation right now is potentially if they're actually doing business on our street. That's all we have. So moving forward, if this was to go through, I can assure you that data will be kept. And then if we move forward, further down the road, and if we have conversations with the province, we should be able to bring some data. As far as the conversations with our community, I know Leslie probably has something to say, because I know she has.
Well, but we don't want to get mixed up here and let citizens think that, this bylaw that we're passing and working with the company is going to satisfy everything, because there's a lot of private owned e-bikes and e-scooters that definitely will not be covered even by this bylaw. It'll be the companies that are under the pressure to do it. But how do we stop little Johnny from going down Evergreen on the sidewalk, and there's no mechanism to stop it,
Actually, you're 100% correct, is that this bylaw is basically for the licensing of shared micromobility companies. That's it. So Johnny that has an e-scooter that he bought at Walmart, this will not be covered under that at all.
So, Councillor, I'm just going to jump in here. Or Mr. CAO would like to add to this.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship. I wanted to just emphasize that point that Charles just made. And again, that what we're debating this evening is a bylaw to license the renters, the rental companies that rent the e-scooters. It's not about a bylaw to operate the e-scooter itself. So to make sure that council is well aware that what we're actually reviewing here is a bylaw to manage and license the rental companies. But you made that point. Thanks, Charles.
Good evening, everyone. I would just like to let you know that we have been in contact with other municipalities across the province. We've talked to Fredericton and St. John through our regular transportation meetings, as well as regular communications with Dieppe and Riverview. Everyone is very interested in this subject. Moncton is a bit of a guinea pig because we are the first, we're one of the first cities here to have two companies that have established here with quite large fleets of micromobility devices. So other municipalities are looking at us to see what we will do. Dieppe and Riverview, we've been in contact, and they, it's similar to how the taxi permitting has been done. We want to have a consistent, uniform system across the community. So we don't, they're waiting sort of for us to see how we're going to present it so we can work together to align it across the municipalities. But we have been in contact, and we've shared information. I believe also in the media either earlier this year or last year, another municipality in the northern New Brunswick also sent a letter to the province similar situation as we're experiencing, asking for some support and action from the province as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Richard, or sorry, Deputy Mayor Richard.
Merci, Matt Crossman. Thanks for the presentation, Charles. So let's say this hopefully gets first reading tonight. We'll need second and third reading hopefully soon after. How soon do we see this falling into place, like that they're actually licensed, that they're actually charged for whatever, for all this that we brought up here? So administration commitment and the recommended next steps, report back on the licensing initiative by the end of 26 season, no later than January 2027. Is there any other timelines? Is there anything secure there we can?
So I'll let Florence speak to that.
Good evening, councillors. Good evening, Deputy Mayor Richard. So the next public meeting of council is in August. I don't remember the date by heart, August 17th. So if council passes the first reading this evening, it will go for second and third reading at that meeting. And I believe the bylaw currently says that the business owners have 30 days after the passing of the bylaw to apply for their, so we're giving them a grace period. If council wishes to change that, we can absolutely do that. But there are conditions, as Charles mentions, and requirements from them for insurance, indemnity. There's a bunch of stuff that we're asking from them. So we're giving them a grace period to be able to meet these conditions and requirements. So we are aware that it shortens the period of time that we will be able to gather data and information to present to council in January. If there's not enough information this year, we can absolutely tell council maybe we want to wait next year to gather more information. But that's what I have.
No, and I appreciate that and appreciate the work that's gone into this. The positive conversations that it sounds like you guys have had with these companies, willing to work with you to get to where we are. So that's very positive. I appreciate that. Merci.
I am confident, just to add to that, I am very confident, just like I said, from dealing with the two business owners. They already have an insight of what we're looking for. And both companies, I can confidently speak forward that they're probably already there meeting what we're looking for. It might be something very small, but I'm quite confident that if it was whenever this is adopted, that probably within the 30 days, they'll be hopefully licensed.
I feel that they're saying their first city, so they've been a few places, they've answered a few questions already, so they kind of ready in a sense.
They're ready.
Yeah. That's Charles.
Okay.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Legier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Kudos to staff for recognizing this as an opportunity to try to manage the use of within a bylaw intended for controlling the operators, which is really smart. So great job on that. And the data collection piece can inform so many things that we do unrelated to micromobility, how people are using the city through alternative transportation. I mean, I can't even imagine what a gift that would be to people like Leslie and the other folks in that department that are working on these matters. My question, a couple of different things on this. One of them is, I've worked a bit with geofencing, and when we get into that level of detail, we're talking accuracy can kind of be lost in terms of inch to inch, right? And if we're talking about sidewalks and whether one of these units is on a sidewalk, or I think we've all seen them different places, sometimes half on a sidewalk, half on a lawn. How do you have any sense from the operators how accurate their geofencing technology is to be able to know whether it's on a sidewalk or just next to one, on a road versus, because we're talking inches, right?
So to be completely open here, I'm not a techie guy. However, I know from just the conversations we had in 2025 with the companies to the technology, it's almost like an iPhone. The technology changes so rapidly that in 2025 it was probably hit and miss on sidewalks where they can go. 2025, like actually both providers have newer machines. Actually, one of the providers has all their scooters in Moncton are brand new for 2026. And the technology is absolutely phenomenal. But some of the stuff, it's not only sidewalks. Like we had, for example, this weekend, I know we talked in length about the Atlantic Nationals. But for the Atlantic Nationals, for example, or any larger event, Canada Day, Le Quinze, all that stuff that's taking place, we can actually go to the provider and say, basically everything from Mechanic Street to Lutz is not accessible during this period of time. And they can do that quite easily. Same as anything on Assumption for Canada Day and so forth, or big events like we had the FIFA event by the Avenir Center that can all be basically taken out. But the technology, I could probably speak to you guys, and I know my colleagues here know, probably speak to you for half an hour on the technology that was not there last year, that's there this year, and already foreseeing newer technology even for the 2027 season. It's absolutely amazing, such as things, and I know my Councillor Butler would probably grin at this, but they even have something as such as basically during evening hours, during our open consumption area of the downtown, there's actually, before you take a unit out, there's actually a sobriety test you have to do on your phone before you can even ride the scooter. It's pretty amazing. I tried it, by the way, when I was sober, and it's all good. So it's all good. The technology is actually pretty amazing of what's out there now. And both providers want to bring the best technology available for our city.
So just one last question. It's a quick one. Where I live there in the neighborhood a lot, some trail system around my house, and I'm out walking my dog often later at night, and if I happen to almost stumble over a scooter, I've on occasion tried to pick it up and move it, and they have alarms. And if I'm out, 10 o'clock at night and I don't want to wake up a neighbor, like I don't know what to do. So I just a suggestion that making sure that we can find a way that, if just a good Samaritan wants to move one, if it's in the wrong place, that it's not going to embarrass them or disrupt someone's nap or whatever. Make it easy for people to help these people. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kingston.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Charles and Leslie and Vanessa on this. Great to hear, great news. I'm glad it was answered. You touched on consulting with the operators. It's in the CRF, but I'm glad they're receptive. They're probably saying, Charles, what took Moncton so long? Privately, that we're the quote-unquote guinea pig for this these new standards, and they're great. And the helmets you touched on there, I just want to be clear, they're going to be provided or are provided presently, but it's optional for the rider, correct? At this point.
They're on the units.
They're on the unit already.
There's a ton of information, and that will be part of our bylaw moving forward and what we require. At the end of the day, when you look at the totality, it's there. There's cautions, just to give you an example, when you go into your car, you get the little light if you don't put on your seat belts on. So there's all these warnings, actually much more stringent than getting into your car and wearing your seat belt. There's a lot more stringent stuff. So basically, the helmet is there, it's available, and then basically once you open the app, it'll tell you that you need to wear your helmet, and so on and so forth, with a long disclaimer about it. And if you don't, what can take place. So.
Just a final comment on the 15 kilometers per hour on the Riverfront Trail. We have a number of joggers and walkers in the city, along with bike enthusiasts and people on bikes. So it's great to see, because they, as Councillor Giroux pointed out, they'll slip by you at 15, 20, 25 clicks. They're not ringing a bell either, and they may not say anything, but it's really close. And it's a number of close calls that we've seen, and it's good to improve that situation. So thank you, Charles, for all your hard work. Merci beaucoup. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Doyle.
So thank you for the proactive work on this. I know we often say that, we hope the province will act, and we're kind of wait. So thank you for just doing it. I really appreciate the way on this. And if we have to pivot and change eventually, fine, so be it. I'm interested in the drop-off corrals you mentioned for downtown. so I get that addresses that they can be a nuisance for businesses or blocking up sidewalks, things like that. What about in neighborhoods though? Because we're currently seeing them on sidewalks, on people's yards, on people in parks, everywhere. They're everywhere, leaned against mailboxes. Are we looking at a corral system inside neighborhoods where they're also a nuisance?
Would you like to speak to that, maybe, Leslie? Yeah.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Doyle. So for this first effort, we decided to try and concentrate our efforts on the business improvement area because that's where we see a lot of the interest. And you're totally right that there are people who use these devices that are going to the neighborhoods, and it does create another mode of alternative transportation to private vehicles. So very good point there. For the time being, we have not really looked at the system for neighborhoods just because the complexity and the size of our city to try and identify all these locations. Like we have analyzed the downtown area to look at larger sections of right-of-way where we could create a corral. Yep. So this could be something we could look at in the future. Or I know in Halifax, so a lot of our learning has been from the Halifax system. Which is completely different than what we're proposing here. But at the same time, the scooters have the capability to be recognized to be out of the way. And so when someone releases themselves from a ride, they do have to prove that it's not blocking the sidewalk and it's tucked to the side. I'm not quite sure about the details of whether it can be on private property or not. But they do have this requirement where you have to be out of the way before you can actually be released from your ride. Otherwise, you'll be charged continuously. So this could be something we could look at, but right now we're trying to just concentrate on addressing like our most busy areas.
Totally, one thing at a time. That's totally fair. I will bug you about that though continuously because I think for neighbors, it's a pain. Nobody wants those on the street or in front of their driveway, like it often is for me. I'm curious about the helmets. You mentioned that they're providing helmets. I have literally never seen a helmet on one of these things, nor anybody wearing a helmet on one of these things. I don't think anyone has. Where are they getting these helmets? I've never seen it.
So earlier this year they were out. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I haven't seen them around lately. I know they were there quite a bit last summer, and I think it's dying because we have zero framework to be able to work on it. And then if this was to be adopted, then it gives us tools to do some enforcement.
Great. Yes, I would like to see that in the same way that we enforce it with bikes or don't enforce it, I guess, depending. Yeah, I've never seen a helmet on one of these things. Kids, adults, no one is wearing helmets on these things for sure. And I just a reminder to all of us that when folks end up using these types of devices on sidewalks, it's usually because they feel unsafe on the road. And I know that we've talked about this before. So I know that our inclination is to be like, get off the sidewalk. But I think we should be taking that as a bit of a red flag that our transportation corridors don't feel safe for folks using versions of active transportation, micromobility, that type of thing. And so if they are ending up on sidewalks with this treasure trove of data that we're about to get, it would be really great because that could help us identify where we might have some gaps of why are we ending up on the sidewalk? Because I have the feeling it's because the street is terrifying. If we're talking about Mountain Road, we talked a lot about Mountain Road and cars tonight, but going up Mountain Road on a bike, a scooter, anything, it's not for the faint of heart. And that's why we see folks end up on the sidewalks. So I really, I just want to ground us in that it's not just folks rule breaking because they're, they want to be a nuisance. They're rule breaking because the system and the institution in place isn't supportive of them riding on the street safely. Puis c'est tout.
C'est tout.
Pour tout de suite.
Merci.
Merci.
Is that all, Councillor? Thank you. Councillor Kevorkian.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'll just add to something that Councillor Doyle has said. The first time I ever rode my bike up Mountain Road, and it is an e-bike, I was nearly run off the road twice in 5 minutes. The second time by the sweetest looking little old lady you ever did see. That was in the first week after I moved here, and I've never biked on Mountain Road since. I love the 15K on Main Street idea. I would love to see that expanded to St. George, because St. George is the second sort of principal street in our BIA and in our downtown. It is full of eateries and cafes, drugstores. There's a retail strip. There are lots and lots of pedestrians crossing, both legally and illegally, all of the time. There are various sort of health and other services. There are some houses of worship. And there's a lot of pedestrian movement all along that strip on St. George. And as I mentioned, it's also part of our BIA. So I would love to see that 15K expanded to St. George, say between, I don't know, like Archibald and what's the one after Cornhill? Is it Capitol, maybe? Just before Von Harvey? I think that would just be, that would make a lot of sense in terms of being a proactive way to prevent a lot of the sorts of run-ins that we might end up with afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor LeBlanc.
Merci, Maire. Pour les close calls, c'est certain qu'il y a eu des incidents. Il y a des personnes qui ont été à l'hôpital. On connaît toutes des personnes qui ont travaillé à l'urgence ou des médecins. Le nombre d'incidences qui augmente devrait être une préoccupation importante à la province, surtout que c'est un coût de la soin de la santé. Je suis un peu époustouflé qu'on peut juste appliquer les bylaws aux compagnies présentement. La pression doit être appliquée aussi au niveau provincial parce que les conséquences ne vont pas juste se limiter aux compagnies qui opèrent, mais aux usagers privés.
Tout de suite, comme juste pour te répondre à ta question, c'est que tout de suite, on a su à plusieurs reprises qu'il y a eu des incidents. Mais typiquement, c'est des appels qui sont rentrés à travers du service d'incendie qui ne sont pas vraiment rapportés à la ville. Ça fait que si on avait évidemment, on avait accès à l'information qu'il y a sur chaque machine, on serait capable de pouvoir voir combien il y a d'incidents chaque fois. Je suis d'accord, en quelque temps, il faudra peut-être aller à la province de nouveau avec de l'information plus qu'on a tout de suite.
C'est une bonne première étape, puis il faut continuer.
Merci, Councillor. Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple of small things, I guess. We're talking about the companies that you're dealing with, too, I think you said in particular. People that own their own machine, their own wheels, they come under the same restrictions?
No, they don't. This bylaw is strictly for the two businesses. This is a licensing, basically requirements for the bylaw. So like I explained earlier, if Johnny buys an e-scooter at Walmart and goes down the street, this bylaw will not apply to that person.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. You mentioned sidewalks, I think, in the restricted area for parking. What about crosswalks? That should be included in there as well, I would think.
Crosswalks would probably become a little bit more complicated as you're driving down the street. And I'm not saying it's not doable, but something definitely we can look at whatever restrictions that we want to impose.
Just sometimes they seem to block crosswalks where they intersect with the sidewalk, I guess, with the curbs cut. They seem to, and we ran into it on Friday downtown with the car show. People unfortunately were parking cars on crosswalks, so it's not a good thing.
So probably I missed your question there, Councillor. Is that basically sidewalk, crosswalks? Those are all areas that can be.
I don't think the word crosswalk is in there, but sidewalks are in there, so obviously they connect.
Yep.
But it's
look at that as well.
People that have mobility issues, it's certainly is challenging, that's for sure. I just want to say, close my remarks off that Councillor Butler and myself, back in our last term together, we dealt with booters quite significantly, and were able to get rid of the boot out of Moncton. But in doing so, the people we were dealing with really were not very friendly. That's the best way I can say it. So you prefaced your remarks this evening by saying the two companies you're working with are very, very anxious to work with us and very agreeable. And it's nice to see that feeling of cooperation. I think it sort of sets the tone that we can actually make some progress here and do some good work. We didn't quite have that feeling when we worked with the Booters. It was quite the opposite. But anyway, they're long gone, and it looks like we're off to a good start here. So continue the good work, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Thanks for the presentation. I don't see any other questions from council. So I do want to make a few comments. Last year I was overseas in London, first time ever overseas and on vacation, and there was an abundance of scooters, e-bikes that were in that city, and that city's population is massive on a very small scale. So what they did for their outlining on where the scooters and bikes could park was basically spray paint or highlighted paint in certain areas that this is where it had to be returned. And I can tell you now, a lot of the bikes weren't standing up. Kickstands weren't being used. They were just laying there, and the helmets were in the baskets and things along this line. So I think it's very important, because I do know over the weekend, I believe in Ontario, somebody lost their life on a scooter. But that's not finalized yet. That was a personal scooter from what the footage that I saw. But one thing is certain is we need to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do on our city property and our city streets, and that they do have the helmets as an option. I know it's hard for probably them to enforce that. I think we did a very good job as the city back in the day at our rinks and enforcing helmets at our rinks, which are currently, being offered as well. So, but this is through a private company. So, hats off to you. I know I've been on the previous council where we had this discussion for seems like years on this file, and I'm glad that you did your presentation this evening, because council is new, and it's good for them to understand what the previous council was working on with staff and how you've come to fruition of today. So this is very good. So with that said, I do see our deputy CEO wishes to chime in as well.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just on Councillor Kabukian's comment about adding the speed restriction to St. George as well, just wondering, are the mover and seconder okay with that? And is there anybody on council who has any concerns with that? Otherwise, we can add that to the bylaw going forward for second and third amendment.
So that was just St. George.
Yeah, it's just St. George.
Yeah.
So with that said, and I'll look to you, Nick, on this as well. I know the Riverfront Trail talks about 15. Maybe it should be 10, just to slow those vehicles down. I know that people are always in a rush, and they're going in and out of people along the trail system, along the waterfront. So is this another, and I know I can't make that suggestion, but I'd like to make that suggestion that the trail be 10. I know I can't make it, maybe another city councillor. Mr. CAO, you wish to respond? Or do we? There you are.
I was just asking Nick if we could adopt the first reading without the speed limits, take that information back and bring it back forward to set speed limits at a future date, so that we have the framework of the bylaw that allows for the licensing, the conditions, and then we can finalize the conditions of the license, such as speed limits, at a future date without it specifically being in the bylaw.
Nick?
Sorry, just, sorry, France, go ahead.
I want to hear what you're going to say, and then maybe
I want to hear what you're going to say.
I'm sorry to cause so much confusion on this.
I was just going to say that the way the bylaw is currently drafted, and I think we have to do it this way because the companies need to know how to set their devices, right? Because we are going to ask them to restrict the actual speed limits that those devices can operate in certain areas of our city. So I think we need to be specific. Perhaps we could move forward with the 15 kilometers an hour for St. George, and perhaps staff could take back the reduction even further on the riverfront.
Okay.
For 10, and we can bring that back when this comes back for second and third.
Okay, I just don't want to hold this up, but France, did you have anything else you wish to add?
No, that answer was perfect. Thank you.
So, thank you, Nick, for that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Council, for entertaining the idea. Mr. LeBlanc, I did have one more question for you. I'm sorry, I hate to get you back up there, but we talked about fines in this bylaw, and they're going to be paying fines should they break the bylaw. These fines are collected by our bylaw officers, and the revenue is turned back into our bylaw, into our city budget. Is that correct? I just want to make sure this is going into the municipality and not the province of New Brunswick.
I'm so sorry, Your Worship. I was. Can you please repeat the question?
Sure.
Thank you.
So the fines that you talked about in the presentation this evening, if they break the bylaw, these fines are collected by our bylaw officers, and the funding comes back into the municipality, does not go to the province of New Brunswick. Is that correct?
So I don't want to make this super complicated, but if you look in the bylaw, there's two separate sections. There's one that talks about administrative penalties, and then there's one section that speaks of fines. So the administrative penalties are the fines issued by the municipalities. Mm-hmm. So if Charles Teams issues an administrative penalty, that money comes directly to the city. If a fine is issued, that's something that's brought to court, and that's issued by a judge, and that money wouldn't come directly to the municipality. It'd be funneled through, I don't know how it comes back to us, I'm uncertain about that, but it's not payable to the city directly.
Okay, good, thank you, I appreciate that. So, Council, we do have a motion before us, so I will move on to the calling of the vote. So motion passes. Thank you. Madam City Clerk?
Okay, the next item is the 2026 plumbing fee change, and Sarah Anderson is here to present that.
Give me a second, Sarah. There you go.
All right. So, okay. So the purpose here this evening, administration is proposing to amend city plumbing fees to be aligned with provincial fees, which are increasing on August 1st of this year. So to enable that fee increase, administration is proposing to amend the plumbing bylaw and the fees and charges bylaw in order to reflect the new fees. So what is changing? Plumbing permit fee, so that's the permit for plumbing work, that's going from $50 to $100. The per fixture fee is going from $20 to $30. The hot water tank replacement fee is going from $15 down to $11. And the effective date, as I mentioned, is August 1st. So again, the effective date is August the 1st. Administration is recommending that the city do this to align its fees for consistency across the province. Typically, we do this once a year. We do it typically as part of the budget process, but given the changes that are happening at the provincial level in a month, we decided to bring just these fees forward at this time to deal with these now so that it can take effect earlier. So in terms of the specifics, as I mentioned, administration is proposing to amend the fees and charges bylaw to update the plumbing fee schedule and the plumbing bylaw, and that is to remove the fixed dollar amounts and instead refer to the fees and charges bylaw to have the actual amount in it instead. And this will make any future updates a lot easier. So for the recommendation, it is that Moncton City Council approve the proposed amendments and give first readings to bylaw A 1324.4, which is the fees and charges bylaw, and bylaw Z1323.2, which is the plumbing bylaw. And that is it. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Sarah, for the presentation. Madam City Clerk, I don't think we need to read the motion back into the record. I think it's pretty set forward by what was said this evening. So at this point, we do have a motion before us. Council moved by Deputy Mayor Richard, seconded by Councillor Guedette. Wow, good. Seconded by Councillor Guedette. Any questions on the motion? Not seeing any, so I will call for the vote. Councillor Kingston, we are on the vote. Since you're now in the room, would you mind? Yeah. Councillor Butler, we are in the voting stages on item 11.3. Okay, so would you mind? Oh, perfect, you did. Thank you, everybody. All right, motion passes. Thank you, Sarah. Madam City Clerk.
Next are reading of bylaws, the lecture des arrêtés municipaux, and this evening, all three bylaws that I'm going to be reading, council's already given me permission to read. As these are first readings, these will be posted on our website. If a citizen wishes to receive them, they can contact our office. We can send it snail mail, we can email it, or they can go on the website and look at it there. So 12.1 is a bylaw relating to the regulation and licensing of shared mobility, micromobility business in the city of Moncton, being bylaw L926. It's the first reading. Arrêté concernant la réglementation des entreprises de micromobilité partagées dans la ville de Moncton et l'attribution des permis afférentes, je m'excuse, soit l'arrêté L926, c'est la première lecture. 12.2 is a bylaw and amendment of a bylaw relating to plumbing in the city of Moncton, being bylaw Z1323.2. It's the first reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté concernant les installations de plomberie dans la ville de Moncton, soit l'arrêté Z1323.2, c'est la première lecture. 12.3, a bylaw and amendment of a bylaw respecting fees, rates, and charges for services provided by the city of Moncton, being bylaw A 1324.4, first reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté concernant les droits, tarifs et redevances pour les services fournis par la ville de Moncton, soit l'arrêté A 1324.4, c'est la première lecture. Next, I believe that you have appointments, would be the next item.
Yes, I do. This evening, Council, a motion that the following appointments be approved. Les nominations approuvées. Accessibility Committee, Alpha Omar Berry. Youth Advisory Committee, Harrison Trimble, Judy Mohad, O Banki Maggio. Moncton High School, Claire Touchy, Esther Edimond. Moncton Christian Academy, Shima Alexandra, Iris Lipollet, John Paul Adrien, Bernice McNaughton, Laura Melody, Jan Odyssey, Olivia Martin. So this evening I will ask for a councillor to move and second those nominations. Moved by Deputy Mayor Richard, seconded by Councillor Cavoukian. And you have a question? No? Okay, it's good. So the motion has been moved and seconded. At this point, I will call on the vote. And motion passes. Thank you, Council. Madam City Clerk?
That would be the end of the meeting.
So I will ask for a motion to adjourn. Deputy Mayor Richard, you wish to move that motion? Great, thank you. Thank you, council. Thank you, city staff.